Hey, everybody, it's Labor Day.
Yes.
So hopefully some of you guys got the day off work.
Yeah.
I never get the
It's
day
a
off
3-day weekend. We don't really have normal work days. It's just
every day's a work
every
day.
day's a work day. But you can also don't have a boss, so
That's true.
you guys are the boss. You guys are the show schedule is the only thing that really kind of dictates. Well, no, because your graphic design companies have deadlines.
Yeah, that's true
But
too.
other than that,
But yeah, we went out last night. That was pretty fun. I didn't really drink all that much, so I don't feel too bad today. I'm just kind of sleepy because I didn't get much sleep.
yeah, it's pretty good.
It was a fun night though.
Yeah, she said that I woke her up from snoring. I'm getting kicked out of my own bed all the time. I got to sleep in the man cave. I might as well get another bed for the man cave. Just let sleep there.
You don't always snore, but like sometimes you do, and it wakes me up. So,
I got into the habit of fucking sleeping out there the past month or so, though. I kind of like it.
Well, you can go in there. You can snore all you want.
Yeah,
you can watch your tablet and watch videos and stuff without keeping me awake.
I need to get a more comfortable mattress, though.
Mm-hmm.
That mattress is leaking. That air mattress. A good thing I tested it here. I wouldn't take that to the field. I don't know. I can't find the leak in it.
By the way, what was Pookie up to last night? She was making noise again.
I didn't hear her.
She got into not last night, but the other night. She got into the cabinet like underneath Tom's bathroom sink. And she threw out a can of spray paint.
Spray paint, yeah. Dodge spray paint.
It's like,
yeah.
And like it woke me up.
That
and
wasn't
I came
last night, though.
No, I just said that.
Oh, okay.
I said it wasn't last night. It was a night or two ago.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I came out, and like then she comes out of the bathroom, and then she's like, "What? I didn't."
She's like, "I didn't do it."
I didn't do anything. I'm like, "What did you do?"
Throwing spray paint.
Throwing spray paint. She knows how to open the cabinet. Like she crawls in there, and like hides. And then she could open it and like chuck stuff out. So
I've seen her stand up on her back legs and try to get to my walkie-talkies and chew on the end of the antennas. And I know that she's trying to get them. She's reaching out there trying to grab them because I have like 5 of them. And I was like, "Pookie, no!" And she's looking over her shoulder. Oh, I wasn't doing anything.
I know she has that she has that face like what? I was just
trying to grab the walkie-talkies, huh? Because I know what would happen as soon as she'd pull the walkie-talkie off and it hit on the ground, and then she'd look around and see he's not watching, and she'd start chewing on the end. I had to replace one already. It's just little cat teeth marks in them. She likes things that are kind of like have little rubber.
She knows she's not supposed to.
Yeah.
So if your back is turned, she'll totally do it.
Yeah.
But then if you look at her, she's like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, and then she'll try to play it off.
I was just rubbing it, see?
Yeah.
I was just rubbing.
If you got any tape over your little tablets, like I put tape over the camera on the cameras on the tablets and shit. When you're not looking, she'll go up there and try to pull that tape off, and you go, and she's, I wasn't gonna take the tape off. She's fucking funny. She knows.
Yeah.
She knows, and then you're not looking, and she's looking at you like that, and she'll go, turn the head sideways, open her mouth like she's gonna try to get the tape off. I said, "What are you doing?" And she's I wasn't doing it. And she's all slow and shit. I know what you're doing. Anyway, we got to talk about the haunting. Looks like people are still coming in. We got a decent crowd. This show, Legend Trippers, this episode, one of our subscribers is connected with the people with the case. I think it was the guy who runs the paranormal investigation website. Is that who he knows? Do you remember what he said?
Oh, no, I don't remember which one.
I remember who said it. But he's requested it several times, and it was up there.
Actually, this has been requested by a couple of people, like 2 or 3 people. So we were like, yeah, we had to get around to this one. But I think there's 2 more that have been requested. I think one's called The Presence, and one called, somebody said there was one called The Counselor, but I don't remember that one. But we bought season 8.
Yeah.
The other day, so we've been watching some of those
online.
Which we bought those online. Like we
can't get a hard copy.
And the thing about it is that we started watching some of them, and I was like, I've seen most of these, but it's been like such a long time. I think we watched them like during their first run on TV.
Yeah, it still might as well be the same as. And see, here's the thing. Jenny says we got to watch something for Matinee tomorrow. It's got to be easy. Might as well just fucking do another haunting like we did the other time. The 2 for last time because she's tired. I don't think she'll make it through a whole movie.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. So actually, maybe we'll do a bonus haunting.
Just do a bonus like we did the other week. That was popular.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody really likes these.
Got to do them anyway.
And we got to do them anyway, so we might as well. Either we'll do, like, The Presence, which some people have requested, or we'll do one from Season 8. You should do the Mummy one.
Yeah, the fucking Mummy one.
That was, like, simultaneously one of the stupidest things I've ever seen, and also one of the most entertaining things I've ever seen.
I think the dude's trolling.
I think he was too. But like I said, I don't know, maybe we'll do that one, maybe we won't. I don't know. But like I said, Legend Trippers,
I think people would be more interested in the classic ones that they take.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, later on we should do that mummy one though, because that shit's like fucking. That was. I'm sitting there going, really, dude? I don't think so.
Being attacked by fucking Sobek. The Egyptian god Sobek.
Yeah.
Fuck out of here.
Who was a good guy?
Who was a good guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't. But these are Christians. Fucking Billy, what's his name? Billy Bean was behind that story, I think, wasn't he?
He was on a lot of the later ones. That's what I meant. Like when I meant like the later hauntings got like real churchy. Like they had a bunch of like Billy Bean ones because man, that bitch had like his own episode about like, oh, my house was haunted by a demon when I was a kid or some shit like that. And then like he grew up and became like a preacher or whatever the hell he was. And so he went and investigated like other people's demon problems. Yeah. And then so he had like multiple episodes where he would turn up and get interviewed.
I talked to Billy Bean online years back and tried to talk with him, and I wasn't impressed at all. I wouldn't believe a thing that came out of Billy Bean's mouth.
He didn't
pass my test.
He doesn't seem super credible.
No.
I mean, I don't know the dude, so I'm not trying to like cast aspersions, but
religious charlatan.
Jeffy Art says Pookie's trying to start her own podcast when you guys aren't looking. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me. She's probably doing all kind of like nefarious shit like that we don't know about. Danny Rowling said, just like the Haunting in Florida dude that get him on too. Just saying.
Yeah, man, he's on my Facebook. I talk to him all the time. I haven't seen him. I haven't talked to him in a few years. He's an ex-Army Ranger. We mostly talk about the Army, though. Then he ended up becoming a Justice of the Peace, and he'd give you a Ranger fucking wedding while he's wearing his kilt. He is dressed up in a Ranger with kilt and his Scottish outfit. I don't know if he's still doing that, but he's in and out of
a man in a kilt.
Yeah, he's in and out of the construction business, depending on what the hell's going on. But no, talking to him about what happened up there in Deltona. No, he passed the smell test with me. Just his attitude. I talked to him on the phone.
I mean,
I talked to him on the phone before I met him.
Then I met him in person. He says,
"Oh man, remember I talked to you? Yeah." I ran into him just by chance. He was working at the hardware store.
He was working at the hardware store, like right up the street from our old house, which is crazy.
Yep. And then one time I was in traffic, fucking pulling up on a Buell, and looked over to the car on my right, and he was sitting there driving. I fucking went up, just, "What's up, man? Hey, fucking And he's just a big old burly ex-Ranger guy who got divorced from that woman who's in that episode. The marriage broke apart, but he's still on good terms with his kids and everything. And he just hangs around locally, but. No, fucking, his story kind of reminded me a lot of the things that he said. See, I don't give out a lot of information when I'm questioning these guys. I just ask questions and I kind of judge their responses of what certain things felt like and what they did. And his story passed the smell test with me because it's a lot like what happened to me in that, not so much Mammoth Mountain, but that bad house I was in. His house was a bad house, but there was apparitions. So his was a couple notches above mine. I believed him, and I also believe it scared him kind of crazy. Which it can do that to you. He's not crazy. I'm just saying that the fear can make you irrational, and it made him violent. He talked about it in the episode.
Well, we kind of got into, and actually one of the other, I think it was the season 8 episode that we were watching, and we kind of laughed because one of the guys on there said pretty much the same thing that we said sort of like in jest on some of the other shows about it's like dudes can't like handle, a lot of the dudes that are on a haunting like can't really handle the haunting because they can't punch it.
They can't punch it.
And the guy pretty much said almost exactly that, like word for word, and I laughed because I was like, see, he's saying it. He admitted it. It's like we can't punch it, so we're out of ideas. And, so basically.
Yeah. And he was an ex-Ranger Battalion. We call them Bat Boys. He wasn't tabbed, but he was from the Ranger Battalions. He was in there several years. Big guy, 6 feet, easy. A heavyweight. And he couldn't shoot it, and he couldn't fucking punch it, and he couldn't yell it out of existence. In fact, it just fueled it, which that checks out. That checks out with what I saw with Poltergeist. And that's what would happen if you confronted that thing. It would just get more violent. But we never really confronted it that way. We knew better. But a dude like him, no, he'd try to fight it, which would become violent. I can imagine like that bad house. If that bad house that I was in had the ability to do what a poltergeist could do and could make apparitions of the dead, that would be a bad combination. You wouldn't want to make that situation worse by throwing violence into it. A lot of that stuff just would not react the way you would think. You can't directly confront it that way. You'll make it worse. What are you going to do to that thing? It's non-physical. It's in a slightly different dimension. And a lot of it might be playing directly on your mind. Like an apparition. Let's say you see an apparition. Was that apparition really there, or did it put that image in your mind? Was it slightly a hallucination that it forced into you? I don't know. But I've never heard of anybody being able to photograph an apparition. Every photograph of an apparition I've seen has been faked. So I tend to think what it is it directly puts that image into your mind. Because I tell you what, in that one bad house, it could directly put fear into your mind. It was just generalized. You didn't know what you were afraid of, though. You felt like something was on the other side of the door, or something was watching you. Be terrified to open up that door, like there was something there, but there was nothing there. It wasn't just you, man. Girls would come over, and I'd have to walk them to the bathroom and wait outside the bathroom. We're in the house. I'm waiting outside the bathroom and then pee. Scared of that house. Wasn't just me.
Well, that seems to be a pretty common thing that like people report in haunting situations, is that the first thing before they even see anything or shit starts moving around or anything, they're always like, I felt like I was being watched, or I felt like there was somebody behind me, and then I turn around and there's nobody there, shit like that.
Wasn't as bad as Poltergeist, though. Mammoth Mountain, the feelings were more intense. So I was already kind of a veteran when I saw the bad house later on. But other people couldn't hang because it was just so vague. You felt a threat, but you couldn't put your finger on what it was. And it never moved anything, never saw any apparitions. It was all just emotional. It was weird. So I couldn't prove anything because it was all internal. Now, if it's stronger, do you see apparitions? Yeah, maybe. Maybe it might have just be strong enough to make you think you saw something. But maybe you all see the same things because it was some kind of outside force that projected that mental image into your mind, and you all did see it. But it wasn't there. You couldn't photograph it. You know, psychic, psychic abilities of some kind of a extra dimensional force or a being. Dark place was strong with the dark side.
Tammy says, I wouldn't complain about an extra haunting show. Maybe we should do one, like I said, because
they're fast and easy for
they're they're more fun to do. The episodes are shorter. We've seen them a bunch of times, so it's like, I usually have to watch them once or twice so I can take notes and stuff, but
we've seen the episodes multiple times.
Yeah, it's not really that big a deal.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do another one tomorrow. Maybe we'll do the presents, because I know somebody requested.
We get super chats on them.
That's true.
We get super. Everybody seems to appreciate them to give super chats. They get hits on them.
Arezo says The Hungry Ghosts. We actually did an episode a long time ago. Not one of these. It wasn't a live stream, but we did actually an episode. I don't remember how good it was, but we did an episode a long time ago on that. We might revisit it at some point because Tom really likes that episode.
Yeah, me and Jenny talked about this earlier. Is that maybe we should do redos on a lot of the old stuff because it's way back in the catalog, and some of that stuff, the recording technology we're using might not have been the best microphones that we had, and some of those episodes might be good as a redo. And Hungry Ghosts is one of them. That's one of my favorite episodes.
That was a good episode.
It's a strong case.
I like that one.
It's a strong case, and that checks out with some of the stuff that I personally have kind of seen with the way certain things go. The whole Taoist angle is also good, real good.
I liked it because it was unusual. It stood out. You know what I mean?
Some kind of a invisible force that had, I guess, sexual desires towards these young women. I've heard of that on several different cases. Some kind of a disembodied male being, the dead, maybe. Or, I don't want to say demon. I don't really like to use those kind of words, because that's kind of charged. Each culture has their own way of describing things, Christians are going to say demons. Muslims are going to say, jinn, but I'm going to say it was just more like just some kind of an evil force. Something bad. An extra-dimensional being. It might be a life form. It may be the memory of a life form. You don't know.
Danny Rowling said Bill Bean talks about Bigfoot as well. Of course he does.
Yeah. He didn't pass the smell test. I talked to him before he was well known, just based on another case that he saw. And I just wanted to check him out. And if he passed the test, maybe collaborate on a book. But he didn't pass the test. That was before I found Steve Mera. I talked to Steve Mera, and he passed the test, and we've done books with him.
Yeah.
Steve's awesome. Man, I need to I haven't talked to Steve in fucking couple years.
I haven't either, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wrote a couple books with him.
Yeah, Steve is a cool dude and very fair. Okay, he approaches everything as maybe it's possible. If it happened, maybe it's this, this, and this. Maybe it didn't happen. Maybe it's this and this and this. So he's
like an old school parapsychologist, which
right.
I wish they would kind of bring back. But
yeah, he's more into not telling you what it was, giving you all the options of possibly what it could be, and then he'll kind of do some source stuff about, well, these guys back in the 60s would say this, that it was RSPK, or so he's real good at that kind of stuff. There are a couple of projects he got involved with that I think was a little bit of commercialism, but that happens with everybody. If a gig comes by, you go, if I do this, I might get some more notoriety and my better material will get promoted. Yeah. So it's understandable, some of the stuff that happens. He is, I guess you could say, for him, parapsychology and the stuff around it is a business. So in a business, you have to do certain things from a business standpoint. But out of the dudes that are doing this for a business, he's one of the best ones because his good material is very balanced.
He really doesn't come across to me as somebody that would just believe anything. He's very scientifically minded.
Yeah, he's like, if this happened, then here are the multiple explanations of what it could be.
Yeah.
And that's how you approach it.
He doesn't jump right to,
demons.
It's obviously demons
it
or
was
ghosts
demons.
or whatever.
Right, yeah. Steve would go, well, okay, if it's a demon, what is a demon? Let's talk about demons. And then he'd give all the layouts of what a demon could be, because there's a lot of different explanations of what a demon is. Some of them come from old religious manuscripts and religious books. But that's just one opinion. Could a psychic force in another dimension of a bad person, would you interpret that as a demon when you saw it? Yeah, you would. Would it be a demon? How do you define demon? The Bible, the Jewish and the Christian Bibles say that demons are the sons of God that have been cast out, fallen from heaven, put in chains because they crossbred with human females, like back in Genesis, or they rebelled and did some things, and that these are angels. Angels, punished angels. What's an angel? An angel's a fucking demigod. It's one of God's children. It's the sons of God. So you're talking about Zeus and his children that he had with Hera. It's just I guess you could say a Jewish version of the what do you call it? The Greek pantheon. So no, wouldn't be a demon in that way. It'd be a demon in the idea of an evil spirit. I can buy that. But as described in the Bible, what a demon was? No. Because angels had all this power. What would they be doing fucking around with kids? What would they be doing haunting a house? If someone's haunting a house, it's just an evil spirit.
That's something that always kind of bothered me. It's like, why would a super powerful demon, why would they even bother? Mm-hmm. Let's possess this one kid for shits and giggles and
just
make
to piss
them
off this priest.
Yeah, it's like,
it would never happen.
Why would they do that?
It'd be more likely it was just some kind of an evil force.
If I was a demon, I'm sure I could think of better ways to occupy my time. That's all I'm saying.
If stuff like that is happening, and if it is an outside force, it's more likely to be just an evil spirit of some sort. And then you have to figure out, what kind of evil spirits
maybe it's just a dick ghost.
From?
It was like it's a ghost of a person that was a real douche.
It was a real douche, yeah. Or maybe it's just a part of the soul of an evil person. Maybe a person dies and he casts out the evil energies from himself, and then that evil energy lives on by itself as a fraction of a soul, an evil piece of a soul. It's not even a full person. That's a possibility. There's no way of knowing. You're talking about all theoretical shit. But it's interesting ideas.
Sure.
I've seen poltergeists that have been in bad houses, and you'll never be able to nail it down. Your senses will not be able to gather enough information. You can't see what's happening in other dimensions, for example. And they kind of defy investigation. Whatever it is, it does not want you to know what it is. It's just something that's kind of weird. Weird or bad, or both.
All right, so can we get to let's talk about
You can do it. It looks like you got a good crowd. They're all waiting. Yes,
let's talk about the episode. So like I said, this has been requested multiple times. I think this episode, Legend Trippers, was requested more than any other one.
Okay.
So this was season 4, episode 13. So I believe this was actually the last episode of season 4. It was like somebody mentioned earlier that it was like the finale episode that came out around Halloween, which is why it's structured a lot differently.
Yeah, it's different
than any of the other ones. It's almost kind of like, I don't want to say it's like a compilation.
It is. It's
a little bit of a... Yeah, well, the weird thing about it is that when they do kind of like a little I don't know what to say monologue, but like little monologue thing like at the beginning, and they're talking about like different urban legends and folklore and stuff, and they actually show clips from a bunch of different episodes like from that season. So I thought that was kind of entertaining. So yeah, this one is not as straightforward. It's not like a haunted house. It's mostly urban legends that are surrounding this one cemetery, Dartford Cemetery, which is in Green Lake, Wisconsin, but it does mention a couple of other ones as well, and it kind of covers like a couple of different people, and I'm not entirely sure why I don't know, it's just like I said, the structure of it is very odd. Like they did like this weird like nested kind of thing, and I'm not entirely sure that they had to do it like that, but they just chose to write it like that, and that's fine. I'm not hating. So yeah. So basically, as I mentioned, this is mostly centered around Green Lake, Wisconsin. Now, what you have is, okay, so you have like, at first you have sort of a framing device. Now there's a group of friends, it's a girl and 2 guys, and they're going to this cemetery, which, like I said, Dartford Cemetery. Now, the cemetery that they show in the episode, it's cool. It's very atmospheric and stuff. That's not the actual cemetery, although they do show the actual one like later on in the show, and it looks similar. So I'm assuming they just found a closer by one. I don't really know that they could shoot in that was not going to like interrupt people or whatever. So you have these 3 friends. Now, these 3 friends, one of the guys and one of the girls, I don't think, and I watched this episode like 2 times, and I like fast forwarded and like rewound and stuff through there. I don't think they named one of them. Like the one guy who I think his name is Corbin Van Buren, which of course I remember that because what a weird name. But it's not weird. It's kind of awesome actually. But yeah, so he was actually on the show, but he was kind of like one of the friends that's like in the framing device. So at the beginning, they're talking about the 3 of them. They're like, we go to this Dartford Cemetery, which is supposed to be haunted. And then we go there, and there's like the whole urban legend about this place is that there's a mausoleum in the middle of the cemetery that if you sit on top of it, it's not like a huge building thing. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's probably like a little taller than a person. It looked like 7 or 8 feet tall, I guess. And so you can like pretty easily like climb up there and sit on the roof of it. So the legend goes that if you sit on the roof of this mausoleum in Dartford Cemetery, then a ghost will push you off. So they're kind of going there to like check that out. And before they do that, though, there's also this other gravestone, which I don't think the gravestone in particular is haunted, but it is actually kind of like supposedly the burial place of one of the ghosts that does haunt the place. There's a really creepy like Indian chief grave there. Now, the grave that they showed in the episode was pretty creepy looking, and I saw the real one, and that is also very creepy looking, but in a different way. I think that the one on A Haunting, they made it look more classically creepy, like in a horror movie, whereas the real one, I kind of got the feeling that whoever made it, like whoever carved it or however, or painted it or whatever, they didn't actually intend for it to be creepy, but it just kind of turned out that way. So it's kind of creepy in a different, like in an unintentionally creepy. Whereas the one in the episode is more like, let's make it look creepy like a horror movie. Okay, so these 3 friends, go to the cemetery, and they just basically they sit up on the mausoleum, and then they're like, now I'm gonna tell you the story about these other 3 kids who go to our school that did this last year or whatever, because I think they went in fall of 2006, and I think the thing with the previous kids happened like on Halloween of 2005, if I'm not mistaken. So they're like, okay, so last Halloween, like this scary shit happened, and these kids, they went to our school. So then they go back and start talking about these other 3 kids. So, all right. So the first group that went there on Halloween of 2005. Now these 3, actually, all 3 of them were on the show, like were interviewed for the show, right? So the main guy is named Nick Weber. And he, at the time that this happened in 2005, he was 16 years old. And he said he lived with his mom in Montello, Wisconsin, which was about 25 miles away from Green Lake, where the cemetery is. Now, at this point, like, Nick is given a little bit of background. He says, you know, my mom and dad had just divorced not too long before, so my mom had to, like, work extra, so I never really saw much of her. You know what I mean? Because she always came home, like, really late at night. Now, the town that he lived in, Montello, Wisconsin, only had 1,400 people living in it at the time. So you can imagine that the teenagers that lived there were, like, super fucking bored, like, all the goddamn time, and were always looking for something to do to entertain themselves. So Halloween's coming up, and Nick starts looking online to find something creepy to do on Halloween. And he comes across this website that has a database of all this haunted stuff in Wisconsin. Now, the guy that put together the website, he was also interviewed on the show, and his name is Chad Lewis. And the website, interestingly, is still live, and it still looks pretty much exactly the same as it did on the show, like in 2005. Okay. It looks like they haven't updated it. I don't know if he's just, like, paying to keep it open, and he's just, like, not doing anything, like, to design it, but it looked... Because I kind of laughed because I went and found it. Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, it looks exactly the same as it did on the show. Like, they haven't updated it, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But it's like, I mean, it's basically just kind of like a list. It's just kind of like a list of, like, you know, different haunted places in Wisconsin. So it's not like it has to be, like, all beautiful and everything. It's just, like, kind of funny. So they interviewed Chad Lewis, the guy that runs the website. And he says he was always interested in folklore and stuff like that. So that's how he got the idea to do the site. And he's like, after it went live, he said he was started to get all of these emails from, you know, local teenagers. It's not, he doesn't do just Wisconsin, but it's mostly that area. And he's like, so I started getting all these messages from all these teenagers that were doing what they called legend trips, you know, title drop, hence the name of the episode. And what they would do is, you know, they would just go around to all these locations and, like, see what they could see. Like, see if there was, like, some haunting shit going on, because that's kind of what you do. Like I said, you don't have anything better to do. So then they kind of go a little bit into some other... Now, okay, now I want to get into this a little bit, but let me talk about this first. So they actually talk about, before they even get into Dartford Cemetery, which is kind of like the main bulk of the episode, they talk about at least one other legend from around this area. Now, one of these legends concerns a place called Witch Road. And I'm going to talk about more about, like, the real place, because I did actually, like, look this place up. Now, supposedly, a witch once lived there, hence the name Witch Road. And the house is still there in the woods. It's not like it's all, like, fucked up and ruined and everything like that. Like, you can't live in it or nothing. Now, on the show, they said there's a bunch of stories about it, but they talked about this one story where there was a couple who drove out there one day with their 4-year-old son, and I guess the dad was all jazzed. He's like, ooh, I want to go take a picture of the witch house or whatever, so they drive out there. The wife is totally not into it. And while the mom and the son are, like, waiting by the car, because they're like, yeah, we're just going to wait right here. You just go off in the woods and take pictures of the witch house. You have fun with that. And so then the son kind of walks around the car and, like, starts talking to an invisible person. And so his mom comes around and is like, hey, kid, Michael, whatever the hell the kid's name was, you know, who are you talking to? And the little boy says, I'm talking to the nice little girl who lives in the woods. You know, and so the mom's like, yep, I'm out. And so she like calls the husband back, like, come on, we're getting the fuck out of here right now because shit's on it. Now, so apparently, like, other people have also reported seeing this little girl in the woods, but nobody seems quite sure who she is. Now, as I said, I looked up Chad Lewis's website, which again looks just the same as it did in 2005, and what he has to say about Witch Road, because it's a real place. It's in Rosendale in Fond du Lac County in Wisconsin. The name of the road is not Witch Road, obviously. It's actually Callan Road, Callan. That's the name of the road that it's on. Basically, just kind of. Oh shit! And what are you doing?
I accidentally turned the speaker on that.
Yeah, knock that shit off.
It's okay. It's a new tab.
He doesn't know how it works.
Yeah, the controls are a little bit different on it. Trying to get to the damn comment section.
So he says on his website, he says the supposed history of this place was that 50 or 60 years ago, there was a witch living in this house on Witch Road, obviously, and they just named the street after her because that was nice. And the road is haunted ever since by the ghost of a little girl. What relation is the little girl to the witch? No one seems to know, but that's what everybody's reported. So people have reported from around this area, and like I said, they didn't mention this on the show, but I found this on the website. Several people have reported on this particular stretch of road. Certain parts of the road are like darker than they should be and colder than they should be. You can also hear kind of like trickling water like near the road, even though there's supposedly like not any water around there, like running water around there. The witch's house is still there, as I mentioned. People have seen flashing lights at the end of the road, and white lights have been observed on the trees. I'm not sure, like, on the trees or in the trees. It said on the trees. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, does that mean the trees are glowing? Yeah. Or a white light, like, coming through the trees? I would have thought, I would have thought that if you'd said through the trees, you would have said that. Like,
right, yeah, no.
On the trees implies that they're, like, glowing.
Yeah. Or it's kind of like somebody shining a flashlight on the top of the tree. You know what I mean? So you can see it, something like that.
Maybe. That's what I mean. It's like, trees. I know, it's like, but I know, I think too much about this. Well, like I said, I guess I'm a writer, so I'm very I'm very into like, I'm like, well, you used that word. Are you using that exactly the way you meant to use that, or were you just not thinking about it?
Just say shit.
Well, I know that, obviously. I do that too, but I'm just saying that sometimes, and particularly if you put something in writing where presumably you can read it back and be like, oh, that's not exactly the word I wanted to use there. So I don't know. That was just something I'm like, on the trees. Where is that? Samantha says, where is this? It's in Wisconsin. This actually, Witch Road is in Rosendale in Fond du Lac County. Verica Z. Good evening, everybody. I'm pretty new to your channel. You guys are so cute. Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, welcome. We have a good time doing this. But this is very, I mean, we used to do haunting episodes all the time, but like when we just recently started doing these again, everybody seems to be really into this. Like I said, we might do another one tomorrow. We probably will do another one tomorrow.
Samantha's saying, where is this?
I said it's in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yeah.
It's in Wisconsin. So light on the tree, whatever that means. There's also a tree on the side of the road that resembles the witch, which, you know, that seems kind of like, okay, that should just be natural. And as I said, a lot of people have seen like a ghost of a little girl hiding in the woods, peeking out from behind the trees, and etc. And Chad said that they went and did an investigation, and they found the house, and they're like, well, they don't really know that much about it. They did find like a little brook that was kind of like going along the road. He said, well, that might explain why people are hearing running water when they think there's no running water. But that's pretty much it. They didn't see anything all that mysterious. Now, here's the weird thing. Please tell me if you remember this or not. And maybe I got it confused with another episode because I know that we watched a couple of other ones like subsequently. I thought that when they were talking about, like they talked about Witch Road, right? And they were talking about like other urban legends that happen like around this area of Wisconsin. I could have sworn that they mentioned an urban legend about like a girl that had died in a car accident, like along a particular stretch of road, and her dad was out there.
Yeah, the ghost of her dad.
You know what's weird? I watched the episode again, and I couldn't find that bit.
Oh, it's there. We saw it together.
I know, but I watched it again, like in here.
Yeah.
And I kept like, I'm like, where the fuck is it? I'm like, I know I saw that.
You must have skipped it.
No, I swear to God. So I don't know if the version that I watched online, like they'd cut that part out for some reason.
Oh, okay. You watched an online version. Yeah. Maybe it was cut out. That's possible.
Like maybe it was cut out for time or something.
Yeah.
Because
maybe.
I'm sitting there going, I must be fucking crazy. I'm like, I could have sworn that they brought up another urban legend.
Yeah. For research purposes, we have all these on DVD.
Yeah. And then I watched it again, like online the next day in my office. Because I was too lazy to walk down the hall and get the DVD. But so I just watched it again online, and then that wasn't in there, and I was like, God, I could have sworn, and I remembered it, so I went back and watched, and I rewound, and like fast forward, I'm like, where the fuck is it? I'm like, I know it's here. It must have been cut out, because I went all through the shit, and I didn't see it again. I watched it through like 2 times, and it wasn't there. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So yeah, because I was kind of, and then the weird thing too is then I went to Chad Lewis's website because I thought that they showed him like clicking on, oh, here's this other weird. They really only spent like a minute or 2 on it where they said, oh, it's this stretch of road. I don't even remember what stretch of road it was, if they even mentioned it. And they said, yeah, this girl got killed in a car accident. It's like not even the girl's ghost that haunts it, like it's her dad. So they're like, it's really weird. Like he's like turned around, he's all bloody and stuff like that. And he's like, well, have you seen my daughter or some shit like that? Because I remember you reacted, you were like, holy shit, because it was like kind of creepy. So I was like, I don't know. I thought that was really weird that they didn't. And then when I watched it back, I was like, I could have sworn that was in there. And then I thought, well, maybe it was in another episode and I'm getting confused. But that's why I thought I would bring it up to you. But you remembered it. Okay, so maybe they just cut it out of that version for time or something.
Or it came out that that's bullshit. They took it out. Probably time.
That's what I'm thinking, maybe. Zach says Mandela effect, you switched realities. I know, that did occur to me, like, for a second. I'm like, oh my God. Well, I thought, because we had watched a couple other episodes, like, after that, like, the next day. Mm-hmm. So I said, maybe it was a scene from one of those, and I'm, like, mixing it up.
I know the feeling because Blackula Scream is missing a bunch of fucking, a bunch of scenes that I remember seeing in the earlier versions of it.
I mean, it does happen sometimes because sometimes they show like the movie in the theater, for example, and then like later on people don't react all that well to the theater, or later on the director's like, I don't really like that scene, let's take it out. So sometimes like when they release it later, like for home use, sometimes they'll shuffle scenes around her, and sometimes too they have like a different cut. They do this a lot. When they show it on TV, like if it's going to be have commercials and stuff, sometimes they have to either shorten it or lengthen it. Sometimes if they lengthen it, they'll put like a bunch of scenes in there that weren't in the theatrical cut. So that happens a lot. It's not, so you're not crazy.
I remember Blackula Scream had a bunch of scenes about slavery in there. Those scenes actually Anne Rice used later on in the Vampire Chronicles. That's where Anne Rice got that shit. I bought the fucking Blu-ray, and those scenes weren't in there. I watched the online version of I streamed it online one time. I streamed it online twice. The first time I streamed it in around 2008. That's when I saw the scenes. I streamed it a few years later, like in 2014, and they weren't there. But I remember those scenes because they were right out of Anne Rice.
Well, yeah, and like I said, sometimes different countries have different cuts, too. So sometimes you see, like, a different cut. Like I said, sometimes you see the director's cut or something. There's a bunch of different cuts of the movies, like, for various reasons.
Yeah, I will plug Blackula and Blackula Scream over. Those were fucking high-quality vampire movies. And Anne Rice her Vampire Chronicles were based on the original cuts of those. They were fucking good.
I talked about both of those movies over on my Scare Salon channel, which you should go subscribe to if you haven't, which if you're really into horror. I'm doing a series, which is going to take forever, but I'm doing my 5 favorite horror movies from every year since I was born. So I did 1972, I did 1973, I did 1974. So yeah, Blackula and Blackula Scream were in.
Yeah. What they cut out is they cut out the fact that fucking Blackula made slaves out of people. Okay. And he hated that because he was anti-slavery when he was a human. That all plays into that Anne Rice thing. Because you had a master vampire making slave vampires. And they cut that out of Blackula Scream. Unfortunate, man, because that was a great fucking twist. I mean, that's the essence of what all the stories of the Vampire Chronicles from Anne Rice were about. Turning people into vampires to steal their shit. And to get them to be your companion. Weird shit. But none of those Anne Rice stories would have meant none of those Anne Rice stories would have ever happened without the inspiration from fucking Blackula and Blackula Scream.
Yeah, I feel like those movies are a lot more influential than people give them credit for.
Yeah, they're real good.
Because I know, like, the title sounds super cheesy.
Sounds cheesy, yeah.
But they're not really all that cheesy.
No,
they're actually really good.
They were good, yeah.
Verica says, love the paranormal. I've been doing research for 15 years, so it's exactly up my alley. I found you with the Sid Vicious video. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That was a fun show to do.
Yeah.
Like, we're both real into, like,
Sid,
goth and punk and everything like that. So.
Poor Sid. I'm going to say poor Sid.
Yeah, well. Although he did kill a cat, so I'm not going to, like, forgive that. Sorry.
If that happened. They were likely to lie about that kind of shit, too, though.
Zach says, hey, bitches, what I miss? I was just having a steak dinner with my man. And no, that's not a euphemism.
Yeah.
I know, that sounds so dirty. Yeah, I'm having a steak dinner.
Yeah.
Danny Rowling said, I like that this episode had multiple different stories in it. I kind of did, too. I like that they sort of did something a little bit different with it. I guess because it was, like I said, the finale in the Halloween episode.
It's like a greatest hits album.
It is kind of.
From one investigator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's move on to Dartford Cemetery, which, like I said, is kind of like the main legend about this and like where they spend most of the time in the episode. And the dare about the mausoleum. So Nick Weber, who, like I said, he's interviewed on the show, he says, well, I'm not really sure if I believed in ghosts or not. I was like open to the possibility. So he decides he's going to tell his best friend about this dare, like if you sit on the top of the mausoleum, then a ghost will push you off. And he's like, hey, you want to do this for Halloween because we don't really have anything better to do. So his friend's name is Christian Adams. Christian Adams was also interviewed on the show. And he basically said to himself he was a troublemaker. Like these two guys, I guess they did like pranks and shit like that all the time. Nick also says that people have seen the ghost of the Indian chief, like the one with like the creepy weird grave, like walking around the cemetery, like in all his, finery or whatever. Now, they also have a third friend whose name is John Lloyd, who was also on the show. Now, he really, really does not like being scared and doesn't want to do this whole shit, but is trying to, like, play it off like, I don't have time for this. I got baseball practice or whatever the fuck. But you can tell that he's just, like, scared shitless and doesn't want to do it. But the other two guys, like, eventually talk him into it. Now, they both said, we specifically did not tell him about the specifics of the dare, i.e. that if you sit on the top of the mausoleum in this cemetery, then a ghost will push you off. And this is kind of important for, like, shit that happens later on. They said that they didn't tell him that. They just said, we're going to go spend Halloween at a haunted cemetery. And he's like, that sounds lame. But he was obviously, like, scared shitless. So at this point, they're kind of asking them, like, how they feel about the paranormal, shit like that. Christian Adams says he's a Polish immigrant, that his parents were very strict Roman Catholic parents. He wasn't really into, like, ghosts and all that kind of stuff. John Lloyd, even though he's scared of everything, says he was raised to not believe in the paranormal. So they're all kind of coming at it from, oh, we're skeptics kind of thing. We also laughed at this particular part in the episode because all three of the boys are over at, I presume, Nick's house because his mom was working. And it's Halloween night, and they're all sitting around watching Nosferatu. Now, I don't think I'm sure they weren't watching Nosferatu in real life. Maybe they just showed it on the episode because it's in the public domain. But just like they always have people watching Night of the Living Dead, because that's also in the public domain. But they're sitting around watching Nosferatu, and John Lloyd is getting ready to pee his pants just from, like, watching Nosferatu. I'm like, seriously? Come on. Nosferatu, it's a great movie. I'm not saying that, but it's like, if you're getting scared watching the original Nosferatu.
Yeah, it's not very scary.
I mean, it's not really that scary by today's standards.
There are some dudes, I remember them though, from my youth, that would creep themselves out. You showed them something in their own imagination.
This guy seemed like that kind of guy.
That they would, no matter what you did, they would fucking... No matter what you showed them, they made it 5 times worse by creeping themselves out. Yeah. And they said that he was like that. So, yeah. I don't think it was Nosferatu. They were probably showing him something else.
That's what I'm saying.
But, yeah.
Like, I would, I'd give him some slack if they were watching something, like, really, really, really scary. But I was just kind of like, look, and like I said, I love the original Nosferatu. It's a great movie. But it's not particularly scary, especially by, like, today's standards. So it's like, man, you got some problems if you're a grown-ass man or like a teenage boy and are watching Nosferatu and are getting scared by that.
The only thing creepy about Nosferatu is the way he looked.
Well, yeah. Which still looks fantastic to this day, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, if you would like, you guys, if you've never seen Shadow of the Vampire from 2001, I think that movie came out, which is like about the making of that, where it's actually like alternative history where they posit that Max Schreck, the guy that played Nosferatu, was an actual vampire. And it's great. Willem Dafoe is in it. He plays the vampire. You'd probably like it. It's actually really entertaining. It's kind of it's sort of like a black comedy, but a horror movie, but a drama. I don't know. It's kind of hard to. It's a weird kind of movie to categorize, but it's excellent. I really like it. John Malkovich is in it too.
The creepiest real vampire of all time is that motherfucker right there, Klaus Kinski. Klaus Kinski's fucking child raping ass, allegedly. I don't know.
Yeah, allegedly.
With his daughter.
Got to put that. We don't want to get sued.
Allegedly, fucking that motherfucker was crazy. He was a crazy man. See Crawl Space. He was fucking creepy in that shit. He was crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to work with him, really, but they hired him. He was hard to work with. He was fucking weird. Real weird. But that was back in the day when you could be an artiste, I guess.
Well, they let people get away with a lot more back then, which, like, I don't think that's a good thing.
No.
But, you know what I mean?
Went to his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Tammy says Eddie Izzard is in it, too. That's right. He's in Shadow of the Vampire. He plays the guy that played Harker, I think, in the movie. Slash Red said, one of these days you should review either the original Clash of the Titans. We haven't done Clash of the Titans? How could we not have done Clash of the Titans?
We did the Sinbad movies.
We did some of the Sinbad movies. I know that. But it's like, I find it very hard to believe that we haven't done. I'm going to have to look back. Maybe we did.
I thought we did all the Sinbad movies. I thought we eventually got them all.
Maybe we did. But that's crazy if we haven't done Clash, because I fucking love Clash of the Titans.
We've done so many shows, we can't remember them all.
And that's the thing too, and it's like, and I probably have a harder time like remembering too, because not only do we because I do a bunch of other movie reviews by myself, and I do like videos of them, and I also write about them. So it's like sometimes I get confused. It's like, wait, did we do a show about that, or did I just do a video about it, or did I just write
Strangely,
about it?
one of the biggest shows that we did on a movie was
Logan's Run.
Logan's Run. For some reason, our Logan's Run has fucking tens of thousands of fucking hits. I think we did a good show on Logan's Run, and we did it with shitty fucking recording equipment.
Well, and I think that when we put that up, there wasn't a lot of other reviews of it, like when we first put that up. Now there are, but
and we had some good takes on what it was they were talking about, and you know we're old enough to remember when that movie came out and what that meant at the time that it came out, and how Star Wars kicked its ass and it vanished. But before Star Wars came out, Logan's Run was the best science fiction movie you could watch. If you were a kid, we loved Logan's Run. People fucking run around like they were the Sandman. And then Star Wars: A New Hope came out, and that's
everyone
the end.
Forgot.
There went fucking Logan's Run. And the TV series is good. I got it on DVD. It's good. The TV series was real good. Heather Menzies. And they have a fucking dude in there who is he played. He was in The Thing, and he played basically Data. They had an android named Rem in there who kind of steals the show. He's one of the best characters on the show. A lot of the same writers from the old Star Trek. It was good. It was a real good show. Shitty fucking theme song. Pew pew pew. It literally goes pew pew pew.
It does, yeah.
Yeah,
we're not even being facetious.
Not even being facetious. It's shit. It says pew pew pew.
Pew pew pew.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's good. But if you guys can watch it, I don't know. See the Logan's Run series. It's good.
Zach says, have you ever seen the 30s German movie Vampire? I haven't, but I'm going to. I want to do that like sometime. Might not get to it this month, but maybe next month, because I think it's on HBO Max, and that's one that I put on my list because that's on there. HBO Max, if you don't have it, like I got it for free with my phone plan, but they have a really, really good classic movie selection. Like if you go to their like AMC like curated stuff, they got all kind of good shit on there, and they have like a lot of like old classic horror and stuff as well. All right, so we were laughing about Nosferatu, and then we got like distracted by that, like getting creepy. Like I said, I'm sure they weren't really watching Nosferatu, because teenage boys in 2005 wouldn't be watching Nosferatu.
No, they were watching something else.
But Nosferatu, like I said, it's in the public domain, so they're like, we can put that on TV, and it's creepy. So they go to the cemetery, And, because John's like, can we just go to the cemetery? It's like, it's got to be less scary than watching Nosferatu, I guess, because he didn't want to go at first. But so they get there, and they didn't really plan ahead, I'm assuming. So they didn't take flashlights, although Nick has, like, a little one, I guess, like, in his car on a keychain or some shit like that. John says on the show that he thought the cemetery was the creepiest place he'd ever seen. And I think I mentioned earlier, but the graveyard they use on the show isn't the real Dartford Cemetery, although they do actually show the real one, like, later on. I don't think, like, the one on the show looks a little bit more, like, decrepit, like, with the fence and everything. The real one, like, actually has, like, a nice, like, sign that has all the letters there. Like,
it doesn't look very old.
It doesn't look like a horror. I mean, it is, but it looks like it's, like, better maintained than the one in the show. I guess they wanted the one in the show to look more like a horror movie kind of thing, where it was all, like, decrepit and shit. So the first thing that happens in the cemetery is Nick feels as though maybe something grabbed his leg and made him fall over. Like, he's standing by, I thought he was standing by the Indian chief grave, but maybe not. But he was, like, standing by one grave, and on the show, they actually filmed it as though there was, like, I don't know, like a mole or like a, I don't know, like a Tremors thing, like one of the graboids or whatever, like underneath the grass, and he's kind of like woo 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 like that, and he like knocks him over. But he says in the interview that he said it felt like something grabbed his leg and it made him fall over, and then like he looks down and there was nothing there. So, but he doesn't, like, he falls over and the dudes are like, what the fuck, you spaz or whatever, but he doesn't like tell them, hey, I think somebody like grabbed my leg, because they said that they didn't really tell each other, because they experienced some things like separately, but they didn't really tell each other what they saw until like later on. You know what I mean? So he didn't tell anybody that he thought that somebody grabbed his leg. He's just like, oh, whatever, I just tripped or whatever. So they get to the mausoleum and then they start like fucking around, knocking on it and so forth. So they wanted to like provoke whatever was in there. So John, the fraidy cat one, he starts getting nervous and like mad at the guys messing with him. He's like, fuck you guys, I'm going back to the car. He gets all like, I like the actor they got to play him in this one. He doesn't seem like the real guy doesn't. He just seems like kind of like just a high school jock type of dude. But the one that the actor they got to play him was kind of like, he seemed a little bit hostile. And it's like, I don't know, I just thought it was like really, really funny. So he starts going back to the car because he's like, fuck this shit. So then like Nick starts following him and he's like, man, I'm sorry, we were just fucking with you or whatever. So then he gets him to come back. So Christian, the one with the guy with the glasses, he's already sitting on top of the mausoleum. So the other two guys like climb up on there as well, so they're sitting on there. So Nick says they're just sitting there shooting the shit, like talking about like, oh, this girl, she likes you, man, she wants your body, blah blah blah. So they're just like talking all about all that kind of crap. And he said that he started getting this really creepy feeling that nobody wanted them there, but again was trying to like pretend he wasn't scared, because these are teenage boys, so they're just kind of like, well, I can't like show any vulnerability or say that I'm scared of anything, so they have to like just make jokes and like pretend that they're not afraid. But he said he was really scared, like he felt like something was like watching him and didn't want him there. And at this point, Christian kind of looks down at where they're sitting and he says that he noticed a big crack in the middle of the roof of the mausoleum, which is like going long ways, like across the mausoleum, that he's pretty sure was not there before. So Nick and Christian are like, what the fuck? Like they jump off like to investigate. But John is still sitting there and he kind of looks down at the crack going, that's really weird. And then suddenly he gets pushed off, apparently, like poop, like he gets pushed off. Now, of course, he initially is like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he thinks they did it, even though they're both standing, like, in front of him. So, obviously, they couldn't have done it. And then he thinks, oh, well, maybe somebody else, like, another friend of ours, like, came to the cemetery and is, like, fucking around and, like, pushed me off. And so he's, like, looking around, but he doesn't see anybody. And then they're like, what the fuck? Would you fall off or something like that? He's like, no, something pushed me. And then the other two guys kind of look at each other and they're all wigged out because, as I mentioned earlier, they specifically did not tell him that that's what the dare was, that you were supposed to sit on top of the mausoleum and then a ghost would push you off. They said that they didn't tell him that. So the fact that he was like, yeah, something pushed me off the mausoleum, they were like, oh, well, then it's got to be real because we didn't tell him. You know what I mean? So John at this point is like, yeah, again, fuck this shit. So he goes back to the car. He is not having it.
Zach's in there says, I love this episode. It's got those cute boys in it, Zach. That's what it is. It's just your attraction. It's your attraction to these young men.
The thing that cracked me up about this one was I kind of love the way the actor playing Nick and also the real Nick that they had on the episode, they really looked like, I mean, there was some real, like, Hot Topic energy going on there. Like, mid 2000s, like, Hot Topic energy. I was feeling it. Yeah,
and I remember that they were very similar. The casting was pretty good for most of them.
It was actually. It was actually. They did do a good job on this one. Like I said, sometimes I know they have a particular stable of actors that they use, so it's like sometimes they can't get real close, but they do try. It seems like they do try to get real close.
It's a fun episode. It isn't a stereotypical haunting episode. Like I said, it's almost like a little greatest hits album, but it's good.
Yeah.
Better than a Billy Bean episode.
Although those might be fun to talk about too.
We're going to talk about it.
I feel like we did.
I just don't think they're credible.
I think that we did an episode about. I can't remember what the first one.
It was the one about Billy. It was the one that
when he was a
Billy
kid.
Bean, it was when he was a kid.
When he was a kid, and and then he moved back to it later or something like that. I'm pretty sure we did an episode.
The first Billy Bean episode when he was talking about when he was a kid, was more credible than the stuff that came out of him later on with the people that he knew and was working about. That was why I wanted to kind of interview him subtly online, because he sounded like that sounded credible. I think maybe something did happen with him on that first one, but the other stuff that he was behind, I would say no. I think he started to go down the Ed and Lorraine Warren path.
Well, maybe that's where the money was.
It's where the money was, probably.
I guess, and it's like, you want to make money doing that, so
right.
Gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. I'm not gonna.
I don't. Well.
I mean, that's what I mean. It's like I don't begrudge people making money, but I don't really think you should do it by peddling bullshit.
You gotta have quality control.
Yeah.
You can't just say, I was attacked by fucking Sobek. So okay, I'm
the thing about it too, and the thing that kind of pisses me off about like people like the Warrens and stuff like that is that. They might actually, like, somebody that might call them, like, actually thinking they might help. It's like, you're kind of, like, exploiting people.
Yeah.
By, you're saying you're helping them. You're not really helping them.
Then you're going to jump on the demon bandwagon.
And then you're just kind of, like, taking advantage of, like, their story. And it's like, maybe they need some other kind of help and, like, not you guys. So, I don't know. That's what bothers me about it, I think. So, all right. So... so John, again, is just kind of like, fuck this shit, and he starts going back to the car. So Nick follows him. But Christian is like, oh, shit, man, like, it really happened. Like, he actually did get pushed off of there. He's like, maybe I'll see some other shit. So he's like, I'm going to go walk around and see if I can, like, see some other ghosts and whatnot. So it's then implied that while John is walking back to the car, I'm not really sure how big this cemetery is. It looks like a pretty good-sized cemetery, like when they showed it at the end. So John's walking back to the car, and it's implied that he saw somebody, like, just quickly. I don't think he got a good look at them, but it's like, it looked like a figure going behind one of the tombstones, because he said, I thought it was just, like, Christian. I thought he was just, like, fucking around and, like, just playing a prank or whatever. And at this point, like, Nick was on there, and he says, well, I got really nervous because, like, the three of us had, like, split up at this point. Because it's like, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen, and we were kind of getting weirded out. So John gets back to the car, and Nick goes back to get Christian. He's like, maybe we should just go. This is probably not a good idea. So he's going to go back and get Christian so they can leave. So while he's on his way back to find wherever the fuck Christian went to, he said that he heard kids giggling. And he said he got weirded out because it's like, look, it's really late at night. I think like he looked at his watch and it was like, I don't know, like 11 something or midnight or something like that. And it was Halloween night, but, he's like, there shouldn't be kids like, and there really wasn't anywhere for kids to be like walking around, like around this cemetery. So he's like, there really shouldn't be any kids like laughing around here. And then he said he got the feeling that someone was watching him. And then started seeing, like, shadows, kind of figures, like, out of the corners of his eye. He said he didn't see anybody, like, but he's just, like, shadows out of the corner of the eye type of thing. So then John, who's still on his way back to the car, it's a long way, you guys, he falls over in, I think, the same spot where Nick fell at the beginning, like, where the mole or the graboids, like, came up out of the grass and, like, knocked him over. Or where the dad from Father's Day, like in Creepshow, like came out of the grave or whatever. I got my cake. But yeah, so there was that. So he falls over, and I think it was the same spot. I'm not entirely sure. Then he looks at, and this seemed like just weird enough to be true. I don't know. I don't know if these guys are telling the truth or not. But this seems like a really weird detail. So he says he fell over, and then he got up, and then he was like looking at one tombstone, and it had one name and one set of dates on it that said, I don't even remember that it was like, it was a woman's name, and I don't remember what the dates were. But then he kind of like hears some rustling or some shit, and like he looks behind him like that, and then he looks back at the grave, and now it has a different name, like a man's name, and a different set of dates on it. So I was like, that seems random, doesn't it? That like you would just... So I don't know if I believe that or not, but it just seems like something that you wouldn't necessarily like think to make up. I'm not really sure. Then he says that he sees, well, I don't know, like on the show they showed this, it's implied that he sees two figures standing there. I couldn't really tell. I think one of them was like supposed to be the Indian chief. I don't know who the fuck the other one was. It looked like a woman. So it's implied that he sees that, but I don't think he said that like in the interview. He did say the shit about like the looking at back at the grave and it being like a different name and different dates on it, but I don't think he said that he saw like people. You know what I mean? Because you got to watch. They'll stretch the truth a little bit, and it's entirely possible that when they did the interviews, because I know they probably interview these people for several hours, and it's entirely possible that the people said something about, like, yeah, I turned around and saw these two figures or whatever, and then they put that in the show, but then they didn't have the footage of them saying that. But I'm always like really skeptical, because sometimes, like I said, they'll try to make it scarier, and I'm like, well, he didn't say that though. He didn't say he saw that, so I'm just saying. All right, so John runs into Nick again. Real Nick says, whatever was showing itself wanted us to leave. That's what he said. So I'm assuming maybe they actually did see apparitions, because he said whatever was showing itself. But he did say that. Meanwhile, Christian is wandering around in the oldest section of the cemetery, which is the Pioneer section. Now, he said that some of the graves had a weird blue, what he called a blue gleam around them. I don't know how many graves it was. Like on the show, I think it was 3 of them like next to each other that were like glowing kind of blue. But he didn't say how many it was. He just said some of the oldest ones like had this weird blue gleam on them. And he said it was really creepy. So then he's looking at him going, what the fuck? And he's like touching him and whatnot. And then he turns around and he says he saw this row of like really odd shaped tombstones. He said there were 7 of them, and they were like really tall and narrow with kind of ovals at the top that sort of looked like heads. So it kind of looked like, it almost looked like people's silhouettes, like with no arms or legs or nothing like that, but it looked like, you know, like a chest and a head sort of thing, and they were like long and narrow. So then he turns back to the glowy graves and then turns back around and sees that now there are only 5 of the narrow tombstones behind him. Like 2 of them have disappeared. And he said, I was sure that there had been 7 of them before, but now, like a second later, there was only 5 of them. So it's then implied that he saw a figure walking behind a grave, and he kind of follows it, and he starts calling out like, hey, I know somebody's there, or something like that. And then he sees 2 ghost kids, like a boy and a girl, standing right in front of him. Now, again, I was skeptical, but he did say they were standing right in front of me. I think that's pretty much the quote of what he said. And he also said, I was afraid that they would start coming toward me, and I didn't know what I would do if that happened. So I don't know if he said that there was kids, but on the show they showed it was kids, so I'm imagining that that's what it was. But he did say that he saw them standing in front of him. So there's that. So he saw ghost kids. So at this point, like, Christian comes out of the cemetery, and Nick and John are already waiting for him in the car. Christian, they're like, we immediately knew he'd seen some shit, because he didn't talk. He was like acting really weird. He just started the car and backed up, and it's like they just like fucking left and didn't say anything. So the other 2 guys are kind of trying to get him to tell him what they saw, but he won't say anything. So as I mentioned, nobody told anybody anything that they had seen, like individually, until later on. Christian said that the reason that he didn't say anything to them was that if they told him that they'd seen the same things that he saw, then he said that it would be, quote, too much for him to handle. Like I said, it would make it real, I guess. Like if it's just you seeing it, you can be like, well, I'm nuts or whatever. Right. But like if you say it to somebody else, they're like, holy shit, I saw the same thing. Then they're like, oh shit, ghosts are real. We're in trouble.
I don't know. I'll tell you, when I was up at Mammoth and then we could all agree that some shit moved, that was a big relief to me. I was like, yeah, this is real. It's not my imagination. You know?
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I think I'd feel better.
Yeah, you feel a lot better.
Because it's like I don't want to be crazy and seeing shit.
Right. And then all of a sudden you now have like some kind of a fucking foreign threat outside the group. You're like, there's something in here. That's a weird. That's a weird sensation too.
Danny Rowling said the same thing happens in Blair Witch 2 with the gravestones changing. Oh shit, I forgot about that. Okay, now when did Blair Witch 2 come out? Because maybe that's where they got the idea then. I've seen Blair Witch 2, but it's been a long time. I know the first Blair Witch was 1999.
Yeah, you're talking about the scene where there was 5 and then there was 3.
Either that
6,
or...
and then there's 3.
Well, no, because remember there was the thing too where the gravestone, where he looked at the gravestone and like the names and dates were different. So if Blair Witch 2 came out before this, then maybe that's where they got the idea then.
Oh, man.
I can't remember when that movie came
here's
out.
the thing.
2000. Yeah, so maybe they saw that movie and they were like, ooh, that's a good idea.
Here's the thing.
I had totally forgotten about that.
If you're not there at the time, there's no way of knowing exactly what happened. You just got to take these stories at face value.
Sure. Well, that's what we're doing. We're just having a good time.
Right. If you
I'm not making any kind of statement about the verisimilitude.
Yeah, I'm not making a judgment on it.
Yeah.
You're right.
You know,
this is just what they said.
I'm
if I was
saying,
there, maybe it wouldn't have seemed that way to me, or maybe I wouldn't say the same thing. But like I said, that's what some of these episodes of The Haunting, well, actually all of them, you got to kind of look deeper. You know what I mean? Like, what actually happened? Is there a difference between what the witnesses are saying and then what The Haunting showing you?
Yeah, I was just talking about that.
That's, so...
We said, I get that they're just trying to make a creepy show, which I respect that.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah.
But you just gotta like come at it from that. It's like, well, this isn't like the gospel truth or anything like that. They're just like making something creepy.
If you ask me, the fucking granddaddy of all of these from this series is A Haunting in Summerwind. And then when you look at the details, it was the best episode. But when you look at the details, it's a lot more understandable when you actually look at the real photographs of that house. Did something happen there? Maybe. But a lot of the shit that they reported in that episode could be easily explained as something else. Like that the house was a dump.
I kind of feel like that's true of every episode.
Right,
I kind of feel like a lot of the stuff, even we've done episodes where they said, oh, this happened and that happened. And I was like, yeah, but if you were there at the time, like that could have easily been explained by something else.
Right.
That could have been explained. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, Danny Rowling said, not many people notice the gravestones changing in the film because you have to rewind it to catch all the hidden stuff in the film or pause it. Well, shit, now I'm going to have to, because I think I have that on DVD somewhere. I'm pretty sure I remember buying it like a long time ago. Blair Witch 2.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I know I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember actually really liking Blair Witch 2. Don't hate. I kind of feel like a lot of people didn't like it, but it's not really found footage. They kind of went meta with it, but I don't know. I kind of liked it, but I haven't seen it in a long time, so maybe it sucks. But I remember liking it at the time. Danny Rowling said, yes, get Tom to watch it. Okay.
What?
Blair Witch 2, I'm assuming.
Man, I didn't like Blair Witch 1.
Well, Blair Witch 2 is totally different, though.
Okay.
It's totally different. Like I said, it goes more meta. It's not found footage. It's not the same. It's better than the first one, in my opinion. Well, okay. Well, I'm glad that you said that because I thought I was crazy. I don't know if it's necessarily better. It's different than the first one, but I actually really liked Blair Witch 2. It's called Book of Shadows. And a lot of people really don't like it, so I'm always reluctant to like share that opinion because people are like, "What? Are you fucking high? That's a terrible movie." But like I said, I haven't seen it in a long time. It might be terrible, but I remember liking it at the time. All right, so okay, so where was I? So they get home. Now Nick says he did more research about the cemetery afterward. Now the mausoleum apparently is the burial place of several children who died of polio. That's what they said on the show anyway. He doesn't find any evidence that the ceiling of it was cracked though, because remember I said, well, like when they were sitting on it, like he said, oh, there was a crack and we were sure it wasn't there before. So he was looking for other photos of it online and he's like, it doesn't look like it's cracked. So, so then they kind of do a little bit of cheat, I'm going to say. They do. It's not exactly a cheat because Nick said he did have a dream like this, but they do a dream sequence, okay? Which you don't usually see too much on a haunting. So we have a dream sequence. Nick dreams. Now, he apparently, like I said, did really dream something like this, so it's not entirely a cheat. That he went back to the cemetery by himself and saw the crack in the mausoleum, like on the top, and it was like glowing blue, like this blue, like glowing out of it, and heard all kind of like howling and wind blowing and screaming and shit like that. And then he like runs like hell away from the mausoleum and then tripped in the same spot. And then he said he felt like when he woke up that he felt like the dream was the ghost telling him not to come back there. That's what he said. So the next day at school, he tells the other two guys pretty much everything he saw and experienced, including the dream. And then they all start opening up about everything that they saw, too. Like, you know, it's like, hey, I saw two ghost kids, and hey, because they hadn't told each other that previously. John, the chicken shit one, said, I don't... Well, I don't know what else to call him.
All right.
I don't know what else to call him. I'm just still laughing about the Nosferatu thing. But he says, He says, and I wrote this down, I don't know what would have happened if we would have stayed there that night. And he said he called the experience scary and traumatic. So there's that. So then they show, like, while they're all in the parking lot of the high school, like, talking about, man, I saw ghost kids and all this other shit, then the random girl from the, and this was such a long time ago, you might not even remember, from the first part of, like, the framing part of the episode with the first three people that were sitting on the mausoleum. Okay, so that random girl, who we never find out what her name is, so I don't even know if she represents a real person or not, but she walks past them, and it's implied that she overheard them talking like, ooh, haunted cemetery. I'm all about that. Let's do that. So now her and her two friends, one of whom actually does appear on the show, who, like I said, his name is Corbin Van Buren. Like I said, any relation to Martin Van Buren? Perhaps. Corbin Van Buren. He's his great-great-great-great-grandson. So him and his two friends who are never named. Oh, look, Pookie's on the show. Aw, Pookie's on the show. She's like, oh, okay, I will accept some...
She loves face love. You want to go back down? You want to go back down? You can go back down.
She's like, okay. Yeah, she likes headbutts.
Yeah, headbutts and fucking rubbing on her
like
face.
when I kind of settle down in the bed in the evening, like to watch TV, and she'll come in the room and I'll be like, headbutt Pookie, and she jumps up on the bed and she comes over and she goes, boop.
It's the only cat I've ever known that doesn't shy away from your face.
Yeah, she likes face.
Yeah, you can sit there and you can kiss her and she's like leaning into it.
Yeah, she's like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like stick my face in her face all the time. She loves it. Yeah, most cats don't like that. They're like, get the fuck away from me, human. Gross.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, Corbin Van Buren and his two random friends who are not on the show and are not named, even though they're actors on the show, they said, okay, well, we wanted to do the same thing, like the shit's haunted. Now, they didn't go I don't think it was Halloween. I think they said it was like November 2006. So it's like, you know, a little more than a year later. So they're going to go and do the same thing. So they're walking toward the mausoleum, and they said that they heard twigs snapping behind them and like leaves rustling like somebody was following them. That's what he said. It sounded like somebody was following them. So they check out the Indian chief grave first. And as I mentioned, Corbin said there was a legend that people had seen the Indian chief walking around the cemetery in his kind of like headdress and all that. So while they're looking at the grave, they see this figure walking around, and initially they just think it's like a person, like somebody's in the graveyard with them, like, oh, maybe somebody, you know, a family member like came to put flowers on a grave or something. And they're like, yeah, but it's the middle of the night, so that would be a little bit weird. And I'm like, yeah, but you motherfuckers are there, so maybe, you know, maybe it's some other teenagers.
Hold on, Veronica Z's in there talking about some of these TV investigators, you know. A lot of times these investigators are more actors than anything else. I mean, there was one of them that I thought there might be something to the motherfucker for a while, and that was the guy from Paranormal U. And then as time went on, no, that dude's a fucking chump. And he was also like a charlatan. So you got to watch those television investigators, you know. There's a reason why they're television investigators. They're meant to fill a fucking market niche. They're kind of an artificial product. It's just the way corporations are, you know.
Well, and the thing about it is just you have to think, too, that it's just like people that turn up on, like, a lot of reality shows.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of those people are just, like, actors or comedians or something like that are trying to get their big break, which, like I said, I'm not begrudging them that. But they're trying to get famous.
Yeah, there's nothing reality about it either. Reality.
No,
TV.
a lot of most of them are entertainers.
Right.
Like I said, they're usually actors or comedians. Or
and we know
because
we know some of those people that do that.
Right.
Like
and they're trying
Jacob,
to get on there.
Our friend Jacob Angel is, he's from Colombia and he's a Colombian vampire dude. I've shown pictures on another fucking show. He was married to a friend of ours for a while, and he would show up on South American talk shows, their versions of Jerry Springer, to pretend to be some chick's boyfriend and the family's met. All fake.
Yeah.
All fucking fake. And he was a suspension artist and self-mutilator and all that kind of weird shit. He looked like the devil, but he was the fucking greatest guy you'd ever fucking met. He was really cool. He was me and him had a lot in common. He was a ex-Colombian Army sniper from a scout unit. I was from a scout unit too. And his older brother was a Colombian Army officer that fucking was involved in a bunch of shit during their civil wars and everything. But you look at the guy and you would think that he was just like something that from the bowels of hell. No, he was a military man. He just knew how to fucking push the right buttons in you. He's a cool dude.
Well, like I said,
so don't believe anything on TV.
He was a really nice guy.
Nice guy, yeah. He did Jenny's tattoo.
Yeah, he was actually
at
the guy
our
that
house.
did his tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came over and did it.
Yeah, I'll pull up a picture of him. Go ahead, Jim.
All right, where was I? Yeah, so they think somebody else is in the graveyard with them. Yeah, somebody's just here, like, they're coming to get you, Barbara, whatever. So then they go and sit on the mausoleum. Now, they apparently see a bunch of figures around the mausoleum. I don't think he said this, but they showed this on the show. So they see like 3 figures standing around the mausoleum. Like, it looks like the chief, the 2 kids. So it's 4 figures. Okay, I can't math. Sorry. And that Christians are earlier, and this random woman who nobody ever mentions. So poor ghost. And then all 3 of them get pushed off one by one, like boop boop boop, like they all get pushed off. So at that point, even though that's what they came for, they're like, we're getting the fuck out of here. So they beat cheeks. And they're like, yeah, the ghost didn't want us here, so we got the fuck out.
No poop.
What's the matter?
Tearing shit up.
Oh, I thought she was like...
Yeah.
That's okay. Like I said, I put the shitty books on the bottom so she could like... Look how busy she is.
Yeah.
She's just very busily like scratching all of the paper off. So they leave the cemetery, and then they drive away, and then they stop on the side of the road and basically like pull over, and then they all pile out of the car like, what the fuck was that? Like, what happened? Now the girl, I don't know what her name is, but she sees like a bunch of scratches on her arms. Like, 'cause I think the other one is just like, what's on your arms? And she looks, and apparently there's like all these big scratches. I don't know what they really look like in real life, but what?
I thought that was good. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm just always afraid you're gonna like interrupt in the middle of something.
Oh, you're afraid I'm gonna interrupt?
Yeah. So I'm just kind of like,
shit.
That I can't see. Nobody can see that.
There's Jacob right there at the wings. If you can see it. That's him. That's him. He's been on a bunch of television shows all throughout Colombia and Central America and South America, and so he's a little celebrity that they have down there. He's a good guy, and he did Jenny's tattoo.
Danny Rolling said, my cousin played a stripper on a Halloween episode of the Jerry Springer Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I kind of feel like, I don't know if like people really did believe that all those people were real, but most of them were, like I said, they were just actors.
That's him without his costume. Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's Jacob. Okay. And Colombia's gothic as shit. Their architecture fucking rocks.
Danny Rolling said he looks like a character from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, he does.
He does kind of. He looks like a monster, but like I said, he's like one of the nicest dudes ever.
And he's a great tattoo artist.
He is, yeah. Yeah, he did this in, I think, what did it take, 10 hours?
Yeah, about that. He sat there and fucking did that in our house. That's a...
Well, he did the outline, and then he's like, well, because normally they would do the outline and then the color. I'm just like, well, you're here, so you might as well do it.
So
we sat there for 10 hours.
I wanted to get my fucking sleeve done. He says, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this and that and this and that. But then he had to go back to Colombia.
Yeah,
ran out of time.
He moved away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted him to do... Well, I had a whole back piece I wanted him to do, but, Oh, well. But yeah, so, all right, what happened? All right, so, yeah, so the girl has scratches all over her arms. Corbin said it looked like an animal had clawed her. I don't know, like, how they showed it, like, looking pretty severe, like, in the show, but I don't really know. Then Corbin says he gets a sudden pain in his leg. He said as though someone was stabbing through it with a knife. On the show, they showed, like, this big bloody wound there, like, he pulls it up like it's on his shin or something. Or not his shin, but, like, his calf. And so I don't know what it actually looked like, because he just said in the interview, like, it felt like somebody was stabbing through it with a knife. And he said, yeah, it didn't look anything like we had just run through, like, and got scratched by branches or nothing like that. And so basically they got the fuck out of there and never came back. And then they just had a little coda where it said, oh, Corbin read some accounts about the cemetery from Chad's website from later and now says, yeah, I believe all that shit because, you know, we experienced it as well. So I found this website called WisconsinFrights.com, I think it is. And they talked a little bit about Dartford Cemetery, which, like I said, it seems like a pretty famous haunted place. But yeah, so they're kind of talking about, I don't know, they went on a little bit of the history about it. Like, I guess before there was a cemetery there, you know, it's good old Native American burial. I don't even know if it was Native American burial ground. I think it was just like a sacred place. According to this website, it said it was a mystical place that seemed to have no bottom, where they gathered to pay homage to the spirit who dwells beneath the water. And it was kind of like a water spirit kind of played, like, hanging out there. Oh, that's right. The grave that had the Indian chief, guy on it. That Indian chief's name in real life, because I saw the actual real grave, his name was Chief High-Knocker.
Yeah, okay.
Chief High-Knocker. And it says that on there.
Yeah, okay.
It says
he's knocking high on it.
His nickname derived from the stovepipe hat he always wore.
Okay, yeah, all right.
So why didn't they call Abe Lincoln that then?
I don't know.
Because he had the same kind of hat. Chief High-Knocker.
I don't know.
That sounds dirty.
I think we're missing the context.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But it's just like, so I guess, like, he died in 1911, and he was the last Winnebago, that's the tribe that it was, like, the chief to rule the area. So he got buried there, and his grave is, like, super, it's not as creepy as the one they show on the show. That one, like I said, was more like a horror movie looking grave. The one in real life is creepy, but it looks like they didn't mean for it to be creepy. It just turned out like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it does, and I'm pretty sure it does say Chief High-Knocker on it, which I don't know why that made me laugh so hard. But I was like, why would you want your nickname on your gravestone, though? Like, what was his actual name?
Mm-hmm. Go to the restroom.
Chief High-Knocker. I wouldn't want Chief High-Knocker on my gravestone. Just saying. But yeah, so apparently, I guess there's like a boulder there too. And yeah, the site calls it an unusual gravestone. It is. It's like, it's really, really weird looking. Now, the mausoleum that they're talking about, even though on the show, I don't know if this is true or not. Like, on the show, they said that the mausoleum, and they kind of made a big deal about that there was a bunch of kids that had died of polio, and they were in there. And so they, like, when one of the kids, like, has a dream about it, there's, like, all these little kids, like, laying in coffins and, like, their eyes open and shit like that, and it's, like, super creepy. But I don't know. Like, it has the actual mausoleum. I saw a picture of it, and on one side of it, there's, like a little thing that has names on it. Now, it says Jackson Walker, but I don't know if that's someone's name, like their name was Jackson Walker, or if that's two last names. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's like two interconnected families who are like the Jacksons and the Walkers, and they're all buried in this one mausoleum, because it's not big, but it looks like you could put like several bodies in there. So I'm not really knowing. Like, if anybody is like from Wisconsin and has been here, like, let me know, because I'm kind of curious about it. But so I don't know if it's kids or, because here's the weird thing. The episode at the beginning, it said that the mausoleum was I think it said the final resting place of some of the city's or the town's pioneers. But then later on, it says, no, it was a bunch of kids that died of polio. I'm like, well, which is it? I mean, it could be all of them, I guess, but I don't know. Zach says, have you guys ever thought of a show about famous building fires? You know what? No, but that's actually like kind of a good idea. Like what? Like maybe like the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire or the Chicago Fire, the Miss O'Leary's cow or whatever. I mean, that might be good. We could do that. I'll write it down. I'll put it in one of the polls, and we'll see how it does. We'll see how it does. Blockfrog said my cat headbutts me too. Yeah. She doesn't always do it. Like, sometimes she fakes me out. Like, she'll jump up on the bed, and she'll come up like that, and I'll be like, headbutt, and then the last second, she's like, nope. And then she turns around, I'm like, ah, no headbutt, denied. Yeah. But sometimes she'll do it. And she jumps up on my desk and headbutts. That's, like, really, really funny. She really does kind of like to get up in everyone's face.
What are you doing? She threw her own toy and chased it. She picked up a little red mouse toy that she hadn't threw it and then ran after it. You're funny. You are hilarious.
She's like, well, you guys aren't doing it. I have to do everything myself around here.
Catch it. Yeah, you go.
You should have got her on camera.
Yeah, I can't.
I know.
I threw the mouse and she caught it.
Well, before we started the show, we were laughing because she not only throws her own toys, which is hysterical. Yeah. She like picks them up in her little hand and goes whoosh, and then like chases them. But she also she'll pick them up and then just kind of like manipulate them around. And I said Tom said it's almost like a little kid with like a toy car or something, like making it move. Like she does that. Like she just kind of moves it around. Like it's walking.
She's making it walk.
She's making it walk.
They're little toy animals. So she picks them up like that and she hits them with her claws and goes.
She's like, look, it's running around.
Yeah, and then she might throw it afterwards.
And then kind of run after.
Yeah. Yeah. She's smart.
Yeah, she's got lots of little mousies in here.
Yeah.
Lots of little mousies. And she also has like kind of like a little stuffed cat and a little stuffed like Dracula that makes like kind of little crumply sound. Did y'all ever do the Great Fire of London? I don't think we ever did. But yeah, famous fires. I'm just kind of thinking, yeah, that was like a big deal.
Sarah Headley shows up, says hello. How you doing, Sarah?
I'm thinking London, the Chicago fire. There was all kind of like famous fires. That's actually probably a good idea for a show.
We got so much of that damn crab salad.
Oh, we still got some of that?
Got a shit ton of crab salad. I'm gonna make it like a crab salad wrap.
All right.
Like on a burrito thing with I got green peppers out of the garden.
Oh my goodness.
Sound good?
Yeah, it does.
What else would go in there? You don't like raw onion, so I can't put that in there.
Well, I like it. It just gives me really bad heartburn.
It hurts you. Okay, well, I'll worry about
it. It doesn't like me back. That's all.
I'll figure something out. Make like a vegetable crab salad wrap.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Verica Z says, my cat does exactly the same thing. She'll even play tag with them. Tag it with her paw, turns around like, are you going to chase me? She does that with furniture as well. She'll tag furniture and run away.
And run away from it? Yeah. Like, come on, chase me. The couch didn't chase me.
Well, she tries to get Tom to chase her all the time.
I chase her sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She likes to. She likes you to chase her. And like if you don't, she'll kind of like run up on you and like kind of grab your leg and then like look at you and then like run away like. Yeah. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Fucking chase me.
Yeah. She's funny.
She is very funny.
And then she doesn't hide anywhere. She'll run into another room and then fucking lay on her back and roll her like, no. With
her little belly sticking out.
Yeah, don't
and her little paws.
Don't do it.
Oh my god, I surrender.
Yeah.
Oh my god, she's hilarious. Like I said, it's like having a kid, but better.
A kid that can reach the ceiling.
That's Jackson Galaxy. I love Jackson Galaxy. Like I subscribe to him on YouTube. But that was one of the coolest things that he ever said. He said, I think that people like they think, oh, they get a cat and it's like low maintenance. No, they're like having a cat. He's like, it's like having a toddler that can reach the ceiling. And I'm like, yeah, that's... Yeah.
She's over there right now trying to find
accurate.
Something to fuck up.
Accurate.
What are you going to do?
Like I said, middle of the night. Yeah. If you weren't here at the beginning of the show, middle of the night, not last night, but the night before last, like 2 nights ago, she climbed into Tom's lower bathroom, like the bathroom cabinet, because she knows how to open the cabinet doors.
She can open them.
She can open them and go in there and hide. And she went in there and threw out a can of spray paint.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I think it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Because I woke up and I heard, like, really close. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And, like, I run out and she pops out the bathroom and, like, with her little tail wagging, like, what?
I didn't do anything.
I don't know what was that noise, mommy? I don't
Yeah.
like, she was, like, acting all innocent. It was fucking funny. But she knows when she did something bad or like when it made noise. I think she does stuff without realizing how noisy it's going to be. And then when it makes a bunch of noise, she's like, oh shit. Yeah. And so then like she tries to act all casual.
Tries to play it off.
Like she's like, I don't know. Yeah. What was that? I don't know. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
It always was her though. Always. Danny Rowling said, what did Tom think of this episode? Legend Trippers. What did you think of Legend Trippers?
In general, I thought it was entertaining. You had a bunch of stories about what was happening in that particular area. Did I think that they were authentic, or did I think they were the real thing? I don't know. Maybe that's what he's asking me. It's hard to say. I wasn't there.
I kind of want to go sit on this mausoleum.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I haven't seen phenomena like described in this. It's pretty typical in terms of like legends. Legend tripper. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. The motherfuckers are tripping, telling these legends. Okay, but that's just this is the nature of a lot of these kind of stories. Seeing is believing. I'd have to be there.
Like I said, if I went and sat on the mausoleum and some like invisible motherfucker pushed me off, then yeah.
It's more likely it's teenage boys fucking with each other's minds.
I'm just kind of
I had to be there.
Doubting that would happen. Because I really, like I said, I'm very skeptical.
Right.
So it's like, and honestly, I like cemeteries. I would be like sitting there in the middle of the, I'd probably sit there all night and nothing would happen.
Yeah, and then the other ones, you're driving down the street, some old man's out in the road, and it turns out it's the son of some chick that was run over here years ago. It's the fucking ghost of him.
It's the dad, not the son.
Dad. That's what I'm saying. The dad, the ghost of the dad. That's more ghost story stuff.
I love those, but I don't necessarily think they're true, though.
I don't know if they're true or not.
They're just fun stories.
Some of them, I think most of them are just stories.
I like urban legends.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in them because
I've seen weird shit that was paranormal, but I haven't seen that kind of stuff, But like I said, you'd have to be there. I'd have to be there and have to see it, But I'm not going to discount it and say, I'm going to say it's most likely that is not true. But I'm not going to say 100% that it's impossible. I'd have to see it.
Well, and I feel like there's a lot of we might have talked about, because I think we did a show a long time ago about did we do a haunted show about haunted cemeteries and shit? Because I've been to St. Augustine. That's the Huguenot cemetery there is supposedly haunted. I've never seen anything in there, but there's a couple haunted cemeteries there. They're creepy. I'm not saying that. They're really old, but I don't. I've never seen anything in there particularly, but. What's that one? Shit, is it around here? I can't remember. But there's one that has the Devil's Chair. Is it called the Devil's Chair? It's this brick. It's a really weird thing that somebody had built, so people could hang out at their grave, I guess. But it's a brick chair thing, and apparently they call it the Devil's Chair. And if you go there and leave. I love how specific this is. If you go there and leave a full closed can of beer on the chair, then when you go back in the morning, the can will be empty, but it won't be open. So the ghost can drink all the beer out of the can. So I guess he shotguns it out of a little bitty tiny hole or whatever.
Now Jenny mentioned Huguenots. If you're not American, you probably don't know what a Huguenot is. And maybe a lot of Americans don't know what a Huguenot is. In American history, they're always talking about Plymouth Rock and the Pilgrims that came over, and then eventually, through the colonies, America was born through these religious dissidents that running from Europe. Well, a lot of people kind of forget that Florida is older than the United States, far older. This was French and Spanish territory, and it was, it had changed hands a couple times. There were people like the Pilgrims that came here in the 1500s, long time before the British Pilgrims, and they were coming from France, and they were the Huguenots. The Huguenots were a lot like the Puritans in a certain way. They were kind of Protestants. They were like French Protestants. So in some ways, you could say the Huguenots are kind of like prototype Americans. Prototype American colonists. So that's what that was.
Well, like I said, a bunch of them are buried over in St. Augustine. There's a whole. It even says Huguenot Cemetery.
Yeah, the Huguenots ended up because France didn't join the Union until the 1800s. Very early 1800s. Was it 1820? 18.
What, Florida, you mean?
Florida.
You said France.
I'm in Florida, yeah. Florida didn't join the Union, I think, till 1818, somewhere around 1820, something like that.
Yeah, I feel like it was 1820s.
Yeah, it was Andrew Jackson. It was purchased after the Seminole Wars and stuff.
But like I said, that's what's cool about going to like St. Augustine, because that's been there since the 1500s.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that stuff's been there since the 1500s.
You have these motherfuckers up north and shit saying these damn Hispanics moving into the country. They were here long before the United States. Fucking Florida was fucking Hispanic.
Well, it was Spanish, Native American, and pirates.
Yeah, and pirates.
Much.
Yeah, and the further south you went, the more it was kind of like something out of the Caribbean, and it long predates the United States. So it's not like they're moving into our territory. We moved into their territory. The same with the Southwest, you know what I mean? They were there long before we were. Okay. They all got annexed or purchased. So people need to check their history, It's fucking funny. Hispanics have always been here. They've always been Americans.
Well, like I said, go to St. Augustine. There's a huge fort there that was built by the Spanish.
Yeah.
Actually, like some of it is from the 1500s, and some of it was like added on later.
Yeah.
But it's pretty impressive.
You go through American history, and some of the fucking greatest fucking war heroes of World War II, pilots and everything, fucking were Hispanic. It could go back to World War I, Goes back to fucking Indian Wars and shit, North America has pretty much always looked like this. There's just more people now. But if you looked at the ratios, it's always kind of looked like this.
Zach says, so Florida is technically haunted by pirates. Badass.
Yeah, Florida's the shit.
Yeah,
so's Louisiana. Everything around the Gulf.
Like I said, the Florida history, like I was always into like pre-United States Florida history, because like I said, it's almost all like those old like Native American stuff, pirate stuff, old Spanish type stuff. It's like it's fascinating. There was all kind of stuff, and like I said, St. Augustine, which I've been to many times. I grew up only about like 40-50 miles from there. That's like the oldest city in the United States. It was established a couple centuries before any of the kind of like main cities.
It's the same with Mississippi and Alabama along that coast, past Christian, Biloxi, Long Beach, all these. But in those areas before those places existed, it was all French and Spanish towns and ports. Even in places like Mississippi, you think Mississippi, that's where all those white rednecks come from. No. Mississippi's 30-something percent, 33% black. It's the blackest state in the Union. There's a lot of Irish and British and German people that really were through there, and French. It's just the South was always diverse. Always. It's just the people up north don't understand the South.
What is she doing?
Yeah, what are you doing, Pope?
I have no idea.
I mean, I got French names. My middle name's French. Francois. Okay.
I'm gonna start calling you that.
Yeah, Francois. So I got a French middle name, and it's just a real fucking people that come from Mississippi, Louisiana, and stuff are gonna have French names in there. It's just how it is. And we make it a little more Anglican, call it Francis or something, but no, they mean Francois. But
Tom Francois.
Francois, yeah. So it's just the way the South was and always is. It was like that. It will probably always be that way.
Sarah said this is also one of my favorite episodes, talking about Legend Trippers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of feel like a lot of people like. I don't know. I think I prefer the more house-based ones because I'm like a big haunted house girl. But I like that they kind of changed it up because I love urban legends and I'm always gonna love a haunted cemetery because I love fucking cemeteries. So it was fun that they did something different with it. This is honestly, I haven't seen every episode. Obviously, we have, if you don't know, we have like on disc, we have episodes or seasons 1 through 7. We bought season 8, which I think was only 6 episodes, right?
Yeah,
I think it was only 6 episodes. We bought that like online, and eventually we'll get around to buying the other ones. Like, not all
Yeah.
at once because it'd be too expensive, but I do want to see some of the
I can
other
get
ones.
another season.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we watched the first 3 episodes of season 8.
Yeah.
I think I fell asleep like when the fourth
We've
one
seen
started.
that season before.
We have seen them, yeah, because I think we saw them when they were live,
Yeah.
like on TV.
Yeah.
Because when we saw them, I was like, man, I've seen this.
Yeah.
But it was a long time
The
ago.
quality's better than I remembered. It's just the stories are a little weaker. If you ask so far. The cases are a little weaker.
Yeah, I mean, now, a couple of the episodes, because, like I said, we started watching season 8, and I was like, oh, some of these are good, but then we got to the mummy one, and I was like, are really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think dude was
No.
trolling.
Although, if he was, I mean, kudos to him for keeping a straight face, because I would not have been able to. You know? Just saying.
Those were stories of a small Christian church trying to make money.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say, it does
Yeah.
really kind of seem like that.
Yeah.
The reptilian mummy says
He's
Black
being
Friday.
attacked by a fucking Sobek, a fucking
Yeah.
ancient Egyptian god, and they're calling it a demon, which is an insult. Okay. Sobek would have been kind of
Sobek
like...
was cool.
Sobek would have been the Egyptian version of the angel Gabriel. Okay. He was the Nile angel. The
He looked
protector of
after
the
you
Nile.
when you were like on the
Right.
Nile, so you wouldn't get fucked
Right.
up.
And he was
He was
also,
like a crocodile god.
he was also kind of like the angel of military prowess.
That too.
So you're talking about Gabriel. He's one of the top Egyptian.
He's looking out for you.
People say, "Well, it's a god." Well, it was one of God's or Amun's sons. So in other words, it was one of God's sons. Angels is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was in the...
Just because he had
in
a
the Canaanite
crocodile
version.
head, don't hate.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was a spiritual form.
Sure.
That was his spiritual form. These are all spirits.
Like I said, he's protecting you.
He wasn't an alligator.
He
just
looked
had
like a crocodile because he was protecting you from
protecting
getting
you.
eaten from
Right.
crocodiles
Right.
when you were in the Nile.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I can scare off the other
Exactly.
crocodiles and keep you safe.
So the story's ridiculous. It's a bunch of Christians calling it down basically the Egyptian version of the archangel Gabriel. They're calling him a demon.
It's a little
That is not-
insulting.
that's
I kind
insulting.
of now that you kind of like put it that in that
well, that's
context.
what it is.
Yeah, it is
Right,
really
yeah.
insulting.
And you can say, well, what about your archangel Gabriel? Is he a demon? He carries a sword. You know what I mean? He evidently talked to the Prophet Muhammad, and you don't like Islam, so does that make Gabriel a demon? They say, oh no, they just made that story up. If you look at me, all those stories are made up.
Well, yeah.
This is kind of like the MCU. This is all mythology.
Yeah.
These
And like
are-
I said, that's no hate on the MCU or on
No,
religions.
or
it's
on the
all
religions.
It's the same thing.
It's the
like
same thing.
people just
People-
humans are
they need
storytelling
stories. Right.
animals. That's
Yeah.
how we understand the world,
Yeah.
like through stories.
They're teaching.
Nothing wrong with that.
They're teaching morality and rights and wrongs and legends all through these stories to give you an identity. It's a tribal identity, but that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You should know your people and where they come from and what they believe in and what they value. And those ideas spread throughout Europe and the Middle East, and it's all good if you understand what it is. You just don't want to take it literally. It's not literal.
Yeah, that'll get you in trouble.
Yeah, no. It's like 1,000 years now they're taking the damn Star Wars fucking trilogy as literal, you know?
I can totally
there
see
was-
that happening,
yeah.
I hate to say.
Right.
Or the MCU. Like
The MCU is
1,000 years ago, like Iron Man did this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, a dude came from another planet. When we know this is true because we found out there are other planets. And his name was fucking Kal-El.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was
Superman.
like super scared
Superman.
of like Krypton.
This had to have happened.
Kryptonite, yeah.
It happened in this place called Metropolis, and we all know that Metropolis is New York, so this is true story.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
It's exactly the same.
That's exactly what they're doing.
It's exactly the same.
Yep.
It's just, I mean, it sounds ridiculous to people nowadays because it wasn't that long ago. Like, we know where Superman came from.
Right.
But call me back in 1,000 years.
Right. They're going to tell you that, oh no, an alien did come to New York. That's what they're going to say thousands of years ago.
Mrs. Evans' already party said Star Trek is true, not Star Wars. LOL.
Exactly.
That'd be cool. I want Star Trek to be true. I want Spock to be real.
Yeah. only the old Star Trek.
Well, yeah. I mean, the other ones are good too, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to beat the OG. I mean, you know, that was lightning in a bottle.
I'm a heretic. I like fucking Star Trek Enterprise.
I know you did.
And nobody seems to like that one.
It was all right.
I liked it with Shran and all those guys. Okay, I'm gonna get off this.
Well, that was Jeffrey Combs. Okay.
Yeah.
What, are you leaving?
Now I'm gonna go to the restroom.
Oh, I thought you were leaving for good, and I was like, well, should I shut the shit down? You didn't tell me to. I don't know, so I guess I'll keep going. Danny Rowling said King Solomon is Saruman from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's like I said, it's no shame in that. It's just that's how people kind of get a grip on the world around them. They make up stories about it, like, you know, and they incorporate real things into the story. Like I said, it just helps them to get a handle on it. That's just kind of like that's how people's brains work. We're just storytelling animals. So, you know, I'm not like shitting on anything. Danny Rowling said, butt pirates haunting asses. Sure. We did a whole show about Florida pirates, did we not? Like, not too long ago? That was a fun show to do. I still haven't finished reading that goddamn... I started reading that book, Under the Black Flag, which I actually bought at the Pirate Museum in St. Augustine, Florida. And it's a good book. It's not exclusively about Florida pirates. It's actually more about the reality of pirates versus like the movie version of pirates, you know what I mean, and like where our kind of all the stuff about pirates, like having wooden legs and parrots and stuff like that, like where that comes from. So it's kind of like that. It's like a comparison of like fictional pirates versus real ones, and then it has like some real history in it too. But it's actually like really good if you want to read it. If you're really into like pirates or pirate lore, it's actually like it's one of the best ones that I've ever read about that. But yeah, I've only got like through the first few chapters because I've been reading like a bunch of other horror stuff to review, so I haven't like got to it yet. But yeah. I kind of want him to come back so I can, like, go to the bathroom. Danny Rowling said, for someone to go out of their way to make a website about all these urban legends, there must be some small grain of truth to them. I don't know. Like, I kind of feel like I'm really into... I don't remember if we've ever done a show about this, but I'm a big fan of the folklorist Jan Harold Brunvand, if that's how you pronounce his last name. And he's written several books about different urban legends. Like his whole thing, like he used to have like for a long time, he had like a newspaper column, and then like he compiled them into a bunch of books. And so he's like fascinated in tracing where these stories come from. Some of them are sort of kind of based on real things that happened, not usually though. But it's really interesting because he's interested in them because of what they say about what's going on in the culture at the time. Like this is what the overriding fears of the culture were at the time, and it came out in this particular urban legend, which was really popular, you know, during this time period. So to me, that's like why it's interesting. Like folklore is interesting because you can really tell a lot about a culture, like what they fear, what they value, stuff like that, like from what they come up with in their stories, and particularly their horror stories.
Yeah.
You know.
Check out Christian mythicism. Mythicism is a great fucking study. There's a lot of channels on it on YouTube now. It's fucking blossomed out. I'm now a Christian mythicist, cultural Christian. None of that actually happened. None of it. It's just like Greek mythology and Greco-Roman mythology. And it's the same authors, more or less. But it's all valuable. Doesn't mean, hey, it's not important. It's important. It's just important. It is just as important as the MCU or DC or Star Wars. It's just there's a cultural. It's a cultural artifact. Stories of what's valuable to
like
you.
I said, that's why I find it interesting. Right. That's why folklorists find it interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think they really particularly care whether it's true or not.
No.
They just care, like, why do certain things, like, take hold in the culture? Like, why is everybody telling this particular story during this particular time? Like, what is that speaking to, like, in the culture at large? Like, what is everybody, like, anxious about?
It's a method of teaching truth. And if it's not true, then the legends die out. Okay.
Or expressing, like I said, some particular anxiety that's going on at a fear or a value or something like that that's going on.
Okay, so let me go ahead and pass the collection plate around. People were probably, halfway or 2/3 of the way through the show.
Wait, are we? This is a Monday show.
I can't see.
We've been on for almost 2 hours.
God damn.
You know that, right?
Oh, so we're towards the end?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're towards the end. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pass the plate around. And
did you think it was Wednesday or Friday?
I don't know what time it is. I'm just thinking about what I have to create for us to eat after the show is over.
I don't know, something.
Yeah. All right.
I wouldn't mind a couple of roll-ups with that crab salad.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I can come up with something like that.
That'd be good.
So is it done?
Yeah.
Okay, it's done. Okay. So
now, tomorrow,
yeah,
which is Tuesday. I know it's not a haunting Tuesdays, but maybe since it's already almost 8:00, we should probably do another haunting episode.
I think
tomorrow.
we should.
So,
because it's only an hour to watch those things, or 45 minutes to watch those things, and we've seen them several times, and we'll come up with a good show for tomorrow.
And like I said,
y'all like the hauntings, and it seems there's a lot of response for this, so we should probably do another one.
I kind of feel like Okay.
Okay.
And like I said, I have a couple more that people have requested like over the weeks. So, one particular I remember everybody requesting was the presents.
Okay.
So we'll find that one. We'll do that one tomorrow.
You want to do presents?
Instead of doing a movie because, like I said,
thank you very much.
I'm really sleepy and it's like I only got like 4 or 5 hours sleep.
Too much.
And it's like, so I don't know if I could sleep to like sit through a whole movie. Thank you, Jeffy Art. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if there's any super chats or tips would be appreciated at this point. We're going to stay on, and if you guys want to ask any questions, we're going to stay on for a little while, and then
okay, you got to talk though cuz I got to go to the bathroom.
All right.
You've already
I'm going to go through
like 2 or 3 times.
I can't drink all this and then just like sit here the way you are. I'm a man. Men don't have the damn bladders that women have. Women have bladders the size of a damn basketball, evidently. They're trained to hold it. I don't hold it, you know. I'll fucking unzip and let that shit fly. Okay, let's see what everybody's talking about. So yeah, Black Frog's asking, so we're gonna have another haunting tomorrow? Yes, we're gonna have another haunting tomorrow because they're popular and they don't take long to watch. And we've seen the episodes so many times I can just remember them. They're enjoyable, man. Those early classic hauntings episodes, you know, we have them all on DVD. They're fucking fun to watch. They got a real kind of soothing fucking soundtrack to them and a familiar cast that they're constantly showing you kind of the same people over and over again. And the cases were interesting in like the first 5, 6, 7 seasons, you know. Season 8 so far we're watching it. It's kind of, you know. But I'm going to fucking do 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to get them all. We're going to see if they get better. They might get better. The only thing that's kind of pissing me off is that season 8 is available digital only, no physical medium. And I'd like to have a physical medium for this. If I'm paid money, man, I want a physical item, you know. But it's a short season anyway. So let's see what people are saying. All right, Tom, what do you think of the Star Wars sequels? Okay, so you must be talking about Force Awakens and all that. Force Awakens, I thought it was going to be pretty good. I thought they were kind of laying out a new trilogy, and I was like, this is going to be good. They're working with something here. And then Rian Johnson's ones came out, and just like, no, he fucked that all up. And then the third one, what was the name of that shit? I don't even remember the name of the third one. The third one...
Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker, is that what it's called? The third one would have been a lot better if the second one didn't exist. It's almost kind of like they tried to reverse a lot of that. And then they tried to overcompensate by doing fucking over-the-top shit, like fucking riding damn space horses across the tops of fucking Star Destroyers and all this crazy shit. I liked some of the stuff with the Emperor and the dark side stuff later, although I would have never brought that dude back. It's just... Man, that third one was really fucking messy. And it was messy because of the second one. If I owned Disney, I'd have all that shit struck from canon. I'd disappear all 3 of those movies. I'd start over and do them again. That's what I would do. And I'd have the guy that did the fucking Mandalorian do them. Because he kind of understands Star Wars. Whoever wrote this shit does not know anything about Star Wars. They don't know what made the old Star Wars great. the sequels made the prequels look really good. I can go back and watch the prequels now and go, yeah, well, this is Star Wars. It's Star Wars. I mean, there's a lot of shit in there I would have done. I would have never had a Jar Jar Binks. And I would have had a lot more Darth Maul. I would have fucking changed some shit around. The way they handled Anakin and his turn to the dark side, I did a show on it. Me and Jenny did a show on it. I said how that shit really should have gone. It should have been in the damn Civil War where the fucking morals were so gray. He thought he was on the right side hunting down.
That would have been a lot more believable. I kind of feel like the way they did it in the prequels, it was just kind of like, oh, by the way, I'm evil now. I'm just I didn't buy that.
No, it's not.
I didn't buy it.
Should have been that Anakin really thought he was on the fucking on the right side of the Force, and that he's
because villains. That's what makes villains interesting. Is they actually kind of a lot of them think they're the good guys.
He should have been down there killing who he thought were Sith infiltrators, and then later on it's revealed that no, the whole time he was killing Jedi. And that he's working for the Sith, and then that could have been twisted around on him, to where he's like, "Fuck, I got fooled," and then the Emperor could have said, "See, that's the weakness with the Jedi and the Force, is that y'all are too gullible, and you know this, and then blah blah blah. If you had been on the dark side, you would have seen these lies to begin with. I would have never been able to fool you, and there was a bunch of different ways where that could have gone." And then then Anakin would have been like, yeah, I guess the Force is really, the truth of the Force is really the dark side. That's what's really true.
Yeah, there were more believable ways that they could have.
Yeah, so there's
because there's analogs in real life that you could look to for that.
Right. But
look to the way somebody gets sucked into a cult, for example.
Right, exactly.
There's a lot of studies on that. You could kind of use that as a jumping off point.
Right. And then, the Emperor would have been like, those Jedi that you killed, they died because they were too weak to defend themselves from you. Which right there proves that we're on the right track. Because things that are true are always true and have the ability to defend themselves. And they can't defend themselves against this. They gotta go. We're the Force. This is what the Force is about. But here's the problem. Here's the problem with Lucas. What made a lot of the great movies from the original trilogy so good is that Lucas didn't have that much to do with them. You had a lot of British fucking guys directing stuff and fucking good writers. And Lucas was more of an idea man.
Well, and good editors.
And good editors and fucking, So
editors are like the unsung heroes of Hollywood.
And the worst of the original series was Return of the Jedi, and Lucas had the most to do with that one, and it had problems. It wasn't a bad movie; it just had some problems. So you can't let Lucas just do what he wants. He's not that kind of dude. You have to have somebody to be able to say no to him. There never should have been a Jar Jar Binks. That was stupid, But nobody had the balls to say no to him in his own company. You know what I mean? That was Lucasfilm. That was his company.
The thing about
Nobody's
it, though, is that
maybe
that somebody was like, man, that's a dumb idea, and then maybe that dude got fired.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. That dude got fired for saying
or they didn't listen to him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know if somebody's out there, like some guy or gal that worked there, and we're like, hey, I tried to tell him it was a stupid idea, but he didn't listen to me, so.
No. And Lucas always wanted these to be kid stories, but the kids that grew up watching those grew up into adults, and he should have fucking changed that material to a more adult audience, because kids didn't give a shit about that. When those fucking new trilogy came out, kids didn't give a fuck about Star Wars, didn't know what that was. And they're trying to sell toys to them. And they didn't even know anything about toys. Because that's what
worked back in the 80s.
That was a long time ago.
And like I said, but...
Kids don't care if we give a fuck about toys today.
And the thing about it, too, is that everybody that saw Star Wars as kids in the 80s are grown-ups now.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are excited about the new ones, market towards them. They get a more adult
You
film.
could have sold those toys, but you'd have been selling those toys to adult collectors, which they do now. But that should have been the main fucking thing. Kids don't give a fuck about those toys. And another thing is that when I was a kid, the reason why I liked fucking the original Star Wars series is because as a kid, I did not have the feeling that series was talking down to me. I thought I was watching a really adult movie. You know, oh wow, this is some badass shit. First time I'm seeing robots. Oh man, outer space. Look at all this shit. And it was, I could understand everything that was going on, but it was not talking down to me like I was a little kid. Adults were along with it, along with the ride and everything. And that's what made Star Wars great. It was not a kid's movie. It was general audience. Real exciting general audience.
And honestly, I will say that that's kind of like a really hard thing to pull off. Yeah. I kind of feel like a lot of people think it's maybe easy to write for kids or write for like a YA audience or write for a general audience. It's really not. It's very difficult to strike a balance between something that will appeal to adults and also be comprehensible to kids, but without being like condescending. It's like really, really hard to strike a balance between that. So when they do that, and like a lot of filmmakers did that really well in the 80s, but a lot of them fucked it up too. Not gonna say, like, you can very easily go on one side or the other, like it's too adult, like kids are just like, we don't give a shit about that, or you make it too kiddish and like adults don't want to watch it.
Now I saw a fan edit of the first 3 movies, the prequels, those 3 prequels, edited down into 2 movies, and it was great. So the prequels actually could have been really improved by a much better edit. But it would have only been 2 movies.
Black Frog said, or it gets too creepy like the Dark Crystal. Although I loved the Dark Crystal.
I couldn't rewatch it though.
Honestly, it's not as good as I remembered. Like now, I'm not going to say that about like Labyrinth, because that is absolutely as good as I remember. That's still awesome. Dark Crystal is still awesome, but I don't like it as much as I did back in the day.
Labyrinth is the ultimate young woman movie, but anybody can watch it. But I watch it now from the point of view of like, what would a 12-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl?
Well, it's a girl's coming of age story, but it's
a warning about men.
It's universalized too. It's like it's in a fantasy guise, so it's like even dudes can watch it and like think it's cool because there's monsters and shit in it.
Yeah.
But girls can watch it, like teenage girls can watch it, and they get like something extra out of it. You know what I mean? Which that's cool. I think that's good. And like I said, that's hard to do. And honestly, the Labyrinth, I think that came out in '86. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think I was almost exactly the same exact age
as Jennifer Connelly.
Cute was in
Jennifer
that movie.
Connelly. She was cute as shit. I was in high school when
maybe she was a year or 2 older than me, but similar.
I was in high school when that movie came out. We watched it. We fucking liked it in high school, and I didn't really catch all of the messages. I wasn't really mature enough to know to see what this was. That this was basically instructing women to be careful of guys who are too old, or too young, or too big, or too strong, or too strange.
Well, dudes that. It's basically saying, they're basically like, it's these older dudes, and they'll seem very like cool and mysterious and shit like that, but they're just like trying to get in your pants. So like, watch it.
But that's what all that shit was about.
They're predatory.
And then the fact that fucking up can be down, and that the rules are not what you think they are, and fucking that rules don't matter. There's a lot of fucking great messages in that.
Well, and there's also a message too where. It's kind of teaching her to be less selfish and to take responsibility for people other than herself.
Yeah. And in the end, though, it's very traditional. In the end, it's about saving the baby.
But like I said,
there's a reproductive message in there.
Yeah, but that's, in a way, that's a little bit reductive because, I mean, the story is like, she saves the baby. But I think, like, generally, it's more saying... don't be selfish. You have to like look out for other people too.
Right.
Because she's very, very selfish at the beginning. She's like, fuck this shit. It's like, I hate my stepmom.
No responsibility.
I don't really want to take care of my stupid brother. I want to do my own shit. I want to live in my own fantasy world. But then she realizes that she has to like live in the real world and take responsibility for people other than herself. So it's not just about the baby. It's just about... finding a world like beyond yourself and like taking responsibility for that.
Looking at it now as an adult, I think it's a fucking excellent writing.
It is.
Yeah, and
I still love that movie.
Yeah, excellent writing, and it's mythology. That is actually what mythology is. And no, I think it's fucking great. If I had a daughter, that's what I'd be showing her. I'd raise her on that kind of shit.
Oh, I would. Yeah, that's absolutely a movie that I would. And then because I loved.
She's like, well, and as they get older, you're like, what does that mean? And then you fucking explain to him what that little fable meant. You know. And
some like sexy ass David Bowie motherfucker comes
shows up with them
like,
pants,
and he's like your dad's age.
That's right, and he's in them damn pants.
You watch it,
and you think he's the shit. Okay, you gotta. And
it's like I get it. We all loved the pants.
Yeah, that's
we
right.
did.
That shit bouncing side to side, fucking jump, and then the little
with the balls.
Yeah, and then the little fire, and then the little fire demons trying to give each other heads,
like pulling their heads,
and then heading their heads off. And here, you take a head, and you give me some head, and this and that. You gotta watch out on all that shit. That's exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Smoking things and giving head.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't control what can happen.
And the funny thing is, I imagine sometimes, like, because I'm a writer too, so I get it. Like, sometimes they're absolutely aware of the messages that they're sending. Sometimes not, though. Like, sometimes I think some things come out that they didn't necessarily intend, but then like everybody reads into it. Is that? I don't know. I think that one they were pretty aware of what they were doing. She goes
into the labyrinth, and the first thing she meets is a middle-aged little worm man. Come in and meet the missus. Oh, which way should I go? That way or that? Oh, I don't know. I don't give a shit about you. You're a teenage girl. I got things to do with the missus. I'm just a little worm.
I love that little worm.
And that's the middle-aged...
They should make a whole movie about that little worm.
The message...
With his little blue hair.
The message to the young girls is that middle-aged men who are married can't help you. They're good in their own thing. You're gonna have to figure this shit out on your own.
Come meet the missus.
Yeah. Come and meet the missus, that's all. Okay. But, you can't help young girls.
I love that little worm.
Yeah.
Like I said, they should make a whole movie about that.
Yeah, so everything in that movie had a meaning. But it was very good writing. Very good writing.
Well, and Hoggle was kind of like that too, because
he
Hoggle,
was the old dude who
he was kind of like loved her.
Yeah, he loved her, but he was too old. He couldn't deliver.
He was too old.
Too old, couldn't deliver, and there's, and fucking he's at the end of his life.
And the
then
thing
you got
too
the young fox who fucking claims to be able to do all this shit, but he can't deliver. He's riding around on a dog, but he's too...
Sir Didymus.
Yeah, but he can't really do anything, okay? He doesn't have the power to do anything.
He's guarding the bridge.
Then you got a big dude who's powerful, but he's so fucking dumb, he can't do anything either.
That's Ludo.
Yeah, so they're all talking about all these extreme kind of men, and it's all these messages that a young girl should know.
Yeah, it's like, these are some of the losers that you will meet.
Yeah, that's right.
As you go through your teenage years and 20s.
Foxy little motherfucker, got nothing to offer, just talking. And then runs from the fight.
Yeah. On his sheepdog.
On his sheepdog. Dog's braver than him.
It is. But like I said, you don't have to read all that stuff into it, but it absolutely is in there.
That's what they're talking about.
And like I said, me being a teenage girl and me being pretty much the same age, I think I was just a year or two younger than Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah.
When I saw that movie. So, because, like I said, that came out in '86, so I was what?
Yeah.
I was 14 when
They're
that
all
came
laughing over Bowie's bulge. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's famous.
And Oracle's talking about, you remind me of the babe. Yeah. The babe with the power. Yeah, they know. They all know. That's a great movie. Maybe you want to watch. I got that bitch on Steelbook. I'm the only heterosexual man that has that movie on Steelbook.
Well, if anybody calls you out on it, you can just say it's mine. Yeah. It's hers. I didn't buy that.
It's a good example of fucking really good writing. Good mythic writing.
But see, well, the reason I like that movie is for that reason. Because I do kind of feel like, I don't know, maybe less so nowadays, but I do kind of feel like things that are targeted toward girls, like particularly teenage girls, I kind of feel like people kind of shit on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So...
Well, mostly it's poorly written.
Well, mostly everything is poorly written, like no matter who it's targeted at.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is that I do kind of feel like people tend to shit on stuff that is geared toward teenage girls. Maybe not so much nowadays, but they used to. So I kind of feel like to have something like that is generally targeted toward teenage girls, but like you wouldn't get on a dude's case for watching it because it's a cool ass movie. It's just like a fantasy, and like I said, there's monsters and there's crazy shit and stuff like that in it. But I don't know, I just kind of like that it appealed to everybody, even though it was mostly geared toward teenage girls.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a really good it's just hard to do, like I said, because shit, man, when I was a teenage girl, a lot of stuff that was geared toward teenage girls, I didn't like that shit.
Yeah.
I liked horror.
The whole meaning of the story with Gareth and everything is that these dudes only have the amount of power that you give them. They have no power over you.
Yeah.
But that's a good message.
Yeah, like I said, it's a coming of age story.
Yeah.
She's learning to take responsibility for her own self. She's learning to be not selfish, to realize there's a world outside of her, that the world doesn't revolve around her, which is something that a lot of teenagers need to learn. So,
they're saying stuff like that in there, actually.
They're talking about Night of the Comet, which we should probably do a review on that one of these days, because that is actually like a really good movie. Let's see. Same with the Buffy the Vampire Slayer film. Yeah, that too. It's just kind of like... That's another one that actually, was kind of geared toward teenage girls, but like everybody can like watch it. You know what I mean?
That was a good movie.
Yeah. Jeffy Art said, I think I'm on a delay. My message from Labyrinth, you can still take responsibility and still be a kid at heart. Yeah, exactly. Because at the end, yes, she saves the baby and she tells Bowie, hey, fuck off or whatever. Because
you don't really have any power.
You don't have power over me or anything like that. Yeah. But then at the end... Like, she goes back to her room with all her little, like, toys and stuff in it, and all of the, her little friends that she met along the way are in her room, and she's like, I still need you guys. Yeah. So,
Another one that was good in there was the little character of the old lady with everything on her back.
Yeah.
The message there was, don't be a hoarder. Oh, look, don't you like this? Look, it's a little baby. Oh, you need this. Oh, you need that. And she's, no, I don't need all this bullshit. Yeah. Because that's what happens to some women. Some of them become old ladies that just hoard shit. That's a good story.
But see, that's the thing, and we've kind of got to this before because we've talked about hoarders.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit disingenuous for the Hoarders show to almost like, and I know it's probably not their fault, but I feel like 85-90% of the Hoarders episodes are women, even though in reality there are more male hoarders.
Yeah.
But
in that particular movie, they wanted to show a female hoarder. Right. They said that this could happen to you if you don't know how to let things go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, hoarding in general, that's actually like, it's not, it's a little bit more like common in men than women, but they show it more on the Hoarder show because I'm assuming because men are too embarrassed to like go on TV.
No, the women want to go on the show.
So the women want to be on the show. Yeah. Or at least their families are like, let's put this bitch on the show. We need to clean this crap up. You know what I mean? Yeah, Danny Rowling said Night of the Comet inspired Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, that's right. I can't imagine like why we haven't done Night of the Comet yet. Because I feel like I just watched it not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we didn't review it, but we probably should at some point.
Block Frog says Chili Down was a good song. It was,
all the songs in
all of them were good. I had that on tape back in the day when I was a kid. I'd play it in the damn school bus going back home.
I mean, that's all the songs in that.
All the songs on it were good. I was big into Bowie when I was in high school in Brazil. And I liked that soundtrack. That was one of them I'd lay in there. I'd layer in some Labyrinth.
Yeah, I had it on cassette.
Which is hard to believe that is that old, but yeah.
86, yeah. I was 14 when that came out.
Yeah. So when I was 87 as a senior, I was still listening to that. Yeah, it was good. It was a good album. It was like an EP though. I don't think it was a full album. It was kind of short. I can't
remember because there were.
I think it had 7 songs on it or something.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's technically.
It'd be like an
album.
EP.
Yeah.
So you want to go ahead and shut it down, Jim?
Yeah. Oracle said do Night of the Comet. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do it Sunday because I think we're gonna do another haunting tomorrow.
Night of the Comet when everybody died and the girls run around in the damn
in the mall. Yeah.
In the mall. Okay, I've never seen it. I wouldn't mind.
Oh, it's good.
Okay.
It's good.
All right. Yeah.
They might still have it on Shudder. I kind of feel like I watched it on Shudder.
It's supposed to be the ultimate dead mall video.
It's the ultimate dead mall. It's one of the most 80s movies.
The 80s of all 80s movies.
Yeah, Oracle said half the girls I knew wanted the ball gown from the dream sequence in Labyrinth. Oh, I did too. Absolutely. That was fantastic. Ooh, what a great cosplay that would be. Oh, holy shit.
I just remember being back in high school looking at Jennifer Connelly and she was just cute as shit, man. So I was like,
she's still cute as shit.
Hit.
She looks fantastic.
And then a few years later, I was in the Army and The Rocketeer came out. And she was fucking swinging, man. She looked great in The Rocketeer.
You have never seen Dario Argento's Phenomena, have you?
No.
She's in that as well.
She's in that? Okay.
She controls bugs with her psychic powers.
She went from being like a kid to just a full-blown fucking woman, and it seemed like it was only like in a couple of years. Couldn't believe it was the same woman, same girl.
Probably you should see Darren Aronofsky's, what's that movie? Why do I always forget the name of it? Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
Because Jennifer Connelly gets railed in the butt with a dildo.
Oh, shit.
So,
yeah, okay.
I don't know. You might be into it. It's actually
They're not going to show it.
Yeah, they do.
They show it?
It's actually a double-sided dildo. It's her and another. Well, she's a drug addict, and like they're showing like how like the point that she's got down to. It's her and this other woman, and there's like a double-sided dildo, like like at a party, and everyone's looking at him. Yeah, ass to ass. That's gotta.
All right.
I can't believe you haven't seen that movie.
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly's in it.
Okay.
You probably just. When did that come out? 2001, early 2000s, I want to say. It's a great movie. I mean, it's depressing as shit.
She was really good in Alita: Battle Angel.
She still looks almost exactly the same. Yeah. You know what else she was in that you might like is Dark Water, which was a remake of a Japanese horror movie by Hideo Nakata, I think his name is. And it's like a horror movie. Like her and her daughter like live in this apartment. It's like all kind of creepy like ghost shit's going on. Yeah, it's good. I like it. Well, the original is good too, but the remake is actually really good.
Let me make us something to eat.
All right, so we're gonna eat. So tomorrow, you guys, we're gonna do another haunting episode. If I can stay awake during one, because it's already 8:15 and I'm like super sleepy. But we'll probably do. You want to do the presents?
Okay, yeah, we'll do the presents.
I don't even know like when that would. So I'm sure we have it, but I don't know like what season or episode it is. So if you want to watch it like ahead of time, that's the one we're gonna do tomorrow. So it'll be like another haunting special, Haunting Tuesdays. We'll be back tomorrow. It's a holiday week. Whatever. We'll do it. All right. So thanks everybody for dropping by this afternoon, evening, and we will see you guys again tomorrow. Thanks for super chats and bye.